Hello everyone, today we have with us Meenakshi Shedde. She is the South Asia Delegate for Berlin Film Festival. She's been pre-selecting films since 1998. She's an independent film curator based in Mumbai. She's also the winner of India's National Film Award for Best Film Critic. She's been on the jury for 20 international film festivals that include Venice, Cannes, Berlin. She's a curator, programmer and consultant on festivals worldwide including Locarno, Toronto, IFFI, British Film Institute, Busan and Asia Pacific Screen Awards. She's also a script lab mentor worldwide and a consultant on film funds in the US and Europe for global films. She also freelances for media worldwide. And today she's taken out the time to talk to us about film festival strategies. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Aryan. Big thanks to Whitebirdtrails, to Ankit Tiwari, to Aryan Singh, but a whole team behind that did a lot of work with the creatives, and I must say I drove them nuts, but they were very sweetly going nuts also. I just like to do things well so that you're all comfortable, and I'm very grateful to the entire team. But special thanks to each of you, a lot of very distinguished people I see here. I'm very grateful you make the time to join us. Thanks a lot.
Before getting all technical about how film festival strategies work and everything, there's a question I want to ask you personally. What do you think about this thing? That is there such a thing as a festival film?
Yes, there is. And when I see it, I run a mile away from it. So, so I think a lot of people really struggle to find out what the hell is it? What kind of film do festivals like so that we can get selected? But I mean, in all my years of Berlin, I've been working with Berlin for like 23 years now, and of course, a whole lot of other festivals, but Berlin the longest. And I think we can kind of tell from a mile away a festival film which is made for a festival, and it's a total turnoff, not just for me, but a whole lot of my colleagues in many other festivals, because it's something manipulated. It's like saying, "Arey yaar, boss ki beti aa rahi hai, his daughter's coming next month. Arey, let's patawa, let's take her for a drink, let's be cool and take her for an evening out in the bar, blah, 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 blah." So you're not having a natural relationship with somebody you might have met over an accidental coffee or a drink, or got to know somebody and fall in love. You want to get that woman because she's the boss's daughter. Mane agenda hai, right? Then you're not, I mean, then you're like, could be doomed from the start. You might make a tremendous success, and I'm not against it. I'm just saying it puts a lot of people off because you're not saying what's in your heart. For me, integrity comes for a hell of a lot. You might make a film that's not really great. It's not very polished. Are kya yaar, mane cinematography, please get somebody better. It's such a good film, etc., 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 right? Like the techie things can be much better if you had more budget, polished sound, DI, blah, blah, blah. I'm interested, what is the story you want to tell? What's a technical theek hai? I mean, of course it's important, but I'm saying what you want to say and how you want to say it. As an artist, I'm interested in what the artist has to say. And the technicians and the crew are the ones who are making your vision come alive, right? It's your vision. So I'm interested in what your vision, aapko kya bolna hai, right? So if you make a film that, Arey yaar, what is Cannes looking for? What is Berlin looking for? Venice, haan, main wahi karunga, right? Then it's like ticking the box. Okay, they want a Dalit film, they want LGBT film, they want tragedy, they want poverty, they want rape, want prostitution, human trafficking, ting, ting, ting kiya, to you'll end up with a ting, ting, ting film only. You won't say what you wanted to say, right? You'll make a checklist film, if you know what I mean, right? They'll tick all the boxes. And then you'll say, "Arey yaar, मैंने सब कुछ किया और फिर भी नहीं किसी ने लिया." Then you'll like, दोनों तरफ से you'll get solid jammed, and you deserve to be jammed also. माने इतना माथा फोड़ी करके, it is such a tremendous challenge to make a film. People make such sacrifices. They're like selling their wives Mangal Sutra and mortgaging their house to make a film. Like they're putting their life on the line to make a film. And that too in a time like Corona. People make such sacrifices to make a film. Utna sab karke, if you're going to please 10 other fellows, and uske baad bhi there's no guarantee, right? This is wonderful, I don't remember the exact lines, but a wonderful a commentary that Satyajit Ray made on this in his lovely, very insightful book. Please pick it up if you haven't read it already. It's called Our Films, Their Films. And one of the many wonderful, lot of insights, because, he's also talking about the time he was a first-time filmmaker, how he struggled with it. So I can't remember exactly right now, but I think pretty much from the start, he said, "Arey yaar, mujhe kuch bhi pata nahi. I've never made a film before. Let me get the best guys," which is a natural instinct, right? I don't know, so let me get guys who know their stuff, and between us, we'll make a good film, right? If they execute my view or help me execute my view, na? Then I think he got Shubroto Mitra's cinematographer. I'm not sure. I can't remember the details. No, I don't know if he got him for his first film, I think, Pather Panchali.
Yeah.
But then, baad mein, actually, he wanted this, but Shubroto said, no, we should do it like this. Aisa lighting hona chahiye, vaisa hona chahiye, da 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 da. In the end, Ray said, actually, it's fantastic, but that's not what I wanted to do, right? It's not that's not how I wanted to say. That's not how I wanted to show it, right? I actually got the guidance of all these experts because they know something that I don't know. So it's always a creative dilemma, right? When you're starting out something new, boss, humko kuch bhi pata nahi, what shall I do, right? So a very sensible way is getting people who know their stuff, who then help you execute your view, right? But that can be a real tsurtsuro. I don't know. This is a lovely Konkani word. What is tsurtsuro? It can really burn you. Ki, boss, it's looking very good. Frames are fantastically lit. Kya backlighting ye wo. But that's not what I wanted for this scene. This mother is dying. That granny just tips over and she just pops over. I don't want XYZ lighting. It's just, I just want the viewer to just be in that moment. I just want them to feel, right? I don't want them to be impressed by other things. I just want them, oh my God, she died. Like, you know, because we really love her by then, right? I mean, she's such a crotchety person, but we just adore her, right? So there are some sensitive things which can't be written on paper. These things can't be written on paper. It's just instinctive. You're negotiating with all these top guys who know their stuff, etc., right? But I think so. A good way is to have these as much as possible detailed conversations with your creative team before, and kind of get a sense not only of how they will help you execute your view, your vision, but also thoda kuch like, boss, where to draw the lines, right? I think, you know, you're really great, but you know, would it be okay if I did this on my first? I mean, this is all your way. You negotiate how you're going to tell this guy who's been shooting film for 40 years and you're a first time paplush and you're telling him, boss, can I do my own stuff, right? These are all individual negotiations with very creative people. So everything's a matter of learning. But I beg you, Sashtang Namaskar, please don't make a festival film. Personally, from my side, yeah.
Is it advisable for people who say, because we've obviously heard of success stories like how Damien Chazelle made Whiplash by making a short version of Whiplash, and how Bottle Rocket was made, and all these films. So people have this thought that, okay, if I want to make a feature film, should I, like, is that an advisable thing for first-time filmmakers to not just a short film, just to make a feature film, an independent feature film, as you mentioned, by mortgaging their house or somehow making a very shoestring budgeted film just for the sake of procuring a bigger project through the festival circuit or the festival journey that the film will have? Is it advisable?
I'm not sure I understood you. Wait. So you're not making the film because you want to, but you're making a film to get second film ka bigger budget. Yeah. Too complicated for my very small brain. My brain is very pea brain. Itna sab main nahi kar sakti hu. You talk about one film at one time. Baad mein, I mean, if your first film tanks, you're just fantasizing about a bigger budget for a second. So I think this agenda filmmaking na, ye karunga to wo ho jayega na. This calculation is, it gives me purple rash right now, even when we are talking about it, let alone when I see the film that comes out of such calculation. No, don't calculate. That you leave it to your calculator and leave it to your chartered accountant. Let him do all the calculation. You stick to your art. You stick to what is in your heart and what you really wanted to say. That, I keep repeating, that integrity counts for a lot. It can be a very small budget. It can be minimal crew and quick and iPhone, jo bhi ho. But if there's a powerful vision, if you have something strong to say and you really feel it strongly, that energy will come through the screen to the audience seeing it, whether it's me in programming or audience buying tickets or OTT. That energy, you get that energy, right? Because, oh my God, look at what's happening on screen. Look at that poor fellow. Or you really want XYZ to marry Y, or XYZ to meet his mother after 20 years, or whatever it is, right? You've got me invested in that story, right? It's the feelings that count. How much somebody's burning to tell that story, that burning is important. Paisa, technical calculation is all, for me, out of it. It will come in its own course. But if it comes at the first stage, at the stage that you're planning and you're putting it together, personally, for me, it's a very corruptive influence. It is corruptive. I will say it is corruption, meaning it will ruin your film. It can ruin your film. I'm not saying it will. I mean, lots of things can get by because, oh, you calculated and wow, see, I got it. And see, I got this bigger budget. You can. But I personally would not recommend it. I mean, I'm not a practicing filmmaker as such, although I do have experience. So I've directed a short film. I've line produced 5 feature-length documentaries, international documentaries shot in India. So I do have some experience, but I would never recommend it. Because boss, then just do some other trade, now, like open a supermarket. Like if you've got the money and the calculation and the strategy, then because online stuff is like great, right? So do some online dhanda now. But if you're doing art, then my suggestion is true to that art is my suggestion.
So, like, if someone has a film that they're really dying to make and a story that they really want to tell, of course they're not just making it so that they can sit at home and watch it. I mean, they want to get it out there. How much of the festival strategy should one keep in mind while writing their film?
No. You guys should better record this and see it after you've made your film, because strategy should come when you've made your rough cut. तभी तो आना चाहिए. अभी तो पहले से ही calculation किया तो माने full पटरी के नीचे जाएगा. So I think it's probably good to have an idea whether your film is going to be a local film or an international film, in the sense of, do you imagine that it'll have a larger audience, a larger audience than, say, what is local for you, right? When I made a little baby short called Looking for Amitabh, and I directed it, and it went, actually, after I made it, I thought, acha, it was just made completely for a lark. So it was a little festival here in Bombay called Kala Ghoda Festival, and they were commissioning 5 people. I was then a film critic, and I was then assistant editor, and also doing film reviews at the Times of India. So I had no filmmaking experience. And they specifically commissioned 5 people. Dave Benegal was the curator. He commissioned 5 people who have no experience of filmmaking. So he asked Anand Mahindra, the industrialist. He asked Jaideep Mehrotra, who's a painter, etc., and also me. And so it was basically, we were asked to make a 5-minute film on Amitabh Bachchan. So of course, he's not going to act in my film, in a 5-minute film. He doesn't even know me. So I made the film only by interviewing blind people on what are their mental impressions of Amitabh. So it actually became a kind of love letter to him, evoking him through all the senses except vision, through smell, through hearing, through touch, through instinct. It turned out very fun. I mean, it was a short documentary. So these guys said things to camera I could never have scripted. It's not possible, So if you trust that you're onto a good thing, like, pata nahi kaise hoga, but I find it damn exciting, yaar. Let me do it. That burning thing is the one thing that will see you through, right? Not ke, do I have a cool Tarantino shot or not? Like all those calculations kiya to, I mean, you can, please be cool. I'm not against being cool. But if you have something interesting and original that you think is damn exciting for you, okay, that excitement can be infectious and transfer to the viewer. So after I made it, I said, shit, acha, maine to film banai. Actually, I was a journalist at Times of India. So this was like full time pass on the weekend, chutti, Saturday, Sunday, leke, laga ke, I sellotaped all these weekends and I made this 5-minute film, right? Then I said, boss, abhi kya kare? So it was shown at Kala Ghoda. Then I started, sending it idhar udhar. So finally traveled to 12 festivals. Some chota mota ones, some decent ones. I went to the Busan festival. There's something called Commonwealth Festival in Manchester. There's a very good festival, not so well known in the world, but very important festival called Film South Asia in Kathmandu, which is really important for docus and shots. So, either udhar it went. But that was not of interest to me because I was not a filmmaker primarily. I was a journalist and critic. And this was like total weekend time pass, right? So I wasn't aggressive about it. But I think the reason it had even that mini success is because I didn't think of which festivals will I send it when I made it. I thought, wow, this sounds like a fun idea. Wow, how to make a film on Amitabh by only talking to blind people. And these are people, remember, who have not only not seen Amitabh, but are blind from birth. They haven't seen anything. Right? So like one guy said, I mean, there are a lot of very interesting things. So one guy said, who always gets a lot of laughs in the audience when he says it. He says, blind guy, and he says, I think Amitabh is very hairy. And everyone bursts out laughing. They say, what? Like, you think, oh, he's handsome, he's tall, he's sexy, jo bhi ho. But when you say hairy, you said, oh my God, what was that? And then you realize that actually in the days, all his short button were open, and he was romancing Rekha in the 70s, 80s. So he was, technically, I think, so I asked this guy, why do you think he's hairy? And his answer was so interesting. He said, I think he's a little bit unapproachable, introspective, a little bit, he said, I think such people are hairy. Somebody who's unapproachable or introspective is a hairy person. That's an extraordinary ESP, like a sixth sense that for a blind person to say, I think Amitabh is hairy, and everyone laughs because it's true, right?
True, yeah.
So, this kind of thing, I could never have scripted it, right? So if you're convinced of a damn good idea, you hang on to that. And that is what is more likely, I think, to connect than the calculation ki festival ko kahan bhejna hai. And I think wherever it went, for a time pass film, wow, it went to Busan. I was like insanely thrilled. I went to some other tiny festival, important for Indian ones. It's called River to River Festival in Florence. I got to go to Florence in Italy for this tiny 5-minute film. I floated around the world. Busan ko gayi, idhar udhar. So, when you do something with integrity, especially artistic, it opens all kinds of doors on its own, not because you calculated it, but apne aap, it's just a joy of doing what you really wanted, I think.
Great, that's great. So, so as you mentioned, like you don't strategize until you're in your edit process. So once you reach that process, how do you, like the thing that we're all gathered here to know, how to plan a good festival strategy?
Okay, this is the big one.
Yeah, the big one.
Take a deep breath, guys, because it's a longish thing, but I guess it's what you're really interested in hearing. So, like I said, so I'm going to, I don't know when I'll connect with you again. So I'm compressing a lot of like my 25, 24 years of knowledge into a little short time. It's like 20 minutes or so. So there might be too much info coming at you. Don't worry at all. Everything is on Google Mata. Okay. Everything, that already, right? So if you don't follow something or, you'll just be, if you just use common sense, you'll get it on Google. Everything's out there. Or maybe you can get back to me on Facebook or something. So basically how to plan your film festival strategy, because everyone who makes a film dreams of making one, of being on the festival circuit. So here's the Meenakshi Shedde copyrighted, very easy 5-part festival strategy, okay? So first I'd say is start at the bottom and aim high. So a lot of people are very talented with their very first film. Like they'll be some software guys or some architect before, and with their first film, they'll be at Cannes, right? They've never been to film school. They've never really studied things like that, but they're instinctively very gifted. So a lot of that happens. A lot of first filmmakers are at Cannes, Berlin, Venice, Toronto, Busan, everywhere, right? So those are just very gifted filmmakers. Everybody isn't that. So if you're not that gifted that with your first film, you'd be at Cannes, don't worry at all. A lot of festivals, I would say the majority of festivals are really geared to helping youngsters, first-time filmmakers, film talents also, different technicians, etc., helping them get a foot into the door. So you're like at the door and this cool party is happening inside and there seem to be these nasty bouncers and you're wondering, how do I get into that festival circuit, right? Don't worry at all. So first thing, everything first and last is the merit of the film. You make a damn good film, and that is your own entry. You don't have to worry about bouncers. If you make a good film, that itself will get you in. Festivals will be chasing you. You don't have to chase them. They will chase you. They'll find out who is a good filmmaker and they will find you. They got to find you. Okay. So if you haven't made a great film or you're not sure where you stand because you've just made it and you don't know where you stand in the festival circuit, you start at the bottom and you can aim high. So I'll just tell you the 5 points that I'm going to cover and then go into each one. So one is start at the bottom, aim high, which I'll explain in a moment. Then I'm going to talk about what do festivals really look for, just so that you're aware of it. That awareness is enough. Don't have to be calculating, but okay, that's what they're looking for. That's not what I'm going to do. That's not what I'm interested in. It's good for you to have that clarity. It's not ke, acha, they want LGBT film, to main LGBT film banaunga, right? But I mean, if that's on your agenda anyway, then you know where to send it to. So I'm talking of something that comes organically. Then I'm going to talk about how to create a film festival strategy. So my hot tips. And then I'll tell you how to make a festival strategy. What is the basic preparation? What is the nuts and bolts of it that you need to organize before you can fine tune and decide which festivals you want to send to. And then I'm going to tell you about common festival form submission mistakes that a lot of people make. And if they were a little bit careful, 100%, a lot of the films that I see, the selection at top festivals in the world would be at least double. Just because, you know, a lot of the Indians, I deal with Indians in South, they're just lazy, just tick something, tick, tick, tick without looking. It's a 4-page form or a 5-page form. You just board, some AD will do it, tick, 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 paisa bharo, send it off. Yeah. So that's not smart. And we'll come to that in a minute. So if you're a little bit careful, just spend 10 minutes on the website reading the rules and carefully fill in your submission form. That's already 50% of the battle won. And the remaining 50 is your film anyway. So that's a very good chance. So the first part, start at the bottom and aim high. So as I said, the first thing is just to make a great film. And then how you get into the system. So all the major festivals worldwide all have opportunities for youngsters, for first-time filmmakers, film talent, for mentoring programs, guiding them, helping them raise money, etc., etc. For example, I'll talk about what we do at Berlin. We have something called the Berlinale Talents. It's basically a mentoring program and a networking program for upcoming film talent of all kinds. So there are opportunities for actors, for cinematographers, for editors, production designers, sound designers, composers, sales agents, distributors, audience designers, this new cool thing that's especially being put out now, film critics and journalists, as well as for documentaries, shorts, scripts, and the talent project market for producers, right? There are all these specializations. Whichever one you're in, you'll find something that you're comfortable with, which you want to develop more into. So there'll be mentoring and networking opportunities. It's about a week or so or a little less. And then once you've got the foot in the door, you can also apply for the other sections, but it doesn't have to be sequential. So like I said, there is this big party hall where people are having lots of fun and you're outside. There's not only one door, there are many doors you can enter that party from, right? You don't have to go from one door to the other, but I'm just mentioning what are the many doors you can enter. There's also the Berlinale co-production market, which helps you connect with producers who can help you produce your film, provided it's a film that has an international audience. A lot of films are not really, don't have the polish for somebody in Greece or Tokyo or Venezuela to be really interested. And that's something you will know by yourself or by talking to people who are in the trade from feedback. There's also something called the World Cinema Fund, which is for funding films from countries that don't have a strong film infrastructure, film industry infrastructure. So Indians are not eligible because you've got too much already. I mean, there's huge industries, insanely huge, and we are the most prolific industry in the world. But all our neighbors are eligible. So it's Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, Afghanistan, Mongolia. And then, of course, there's also the festival selections. Your film can be selected. So there are these multiple ways of getting into the party. So just as an example, so at this year's Berlinale Talents in 2021, we had a number of talents from India. So there was Tathagat Ghosh, who's a director screenwriter. There's Kinshuk Surjan, who was Belgium, India, who was in the doc station. There's Shuchi Talati, who was in the script station. There's Fugue, who was in the short form station. I give you these examples so you're aware where Indians and South Asians have been selected in very different sections of the Berlinale Talents. Then I'll also like to mention Berlinale Talents from South Asia, which, you know, Indians are like a little bit thoda arrogant, I think. Too arrogant, if you ask me. Basically, we think, you know, Bollywood is it. You know, what Malayalam, what Tamil, we like Andugundus from South India, oh, Lungiwalas, right? Now we are saying, oh my God, what was that? That gorgeous Malayalam film, that gorgeous Tamil film. Boss, they've been making for 1 century, okay? You just woke up now, okay? So there's lots of great talent in Tamil, in Malayalam, in Assamese, in Bengali, Marathi, Arunachal Pradesh, in Sheddukpin, and a lot of countries in South Asia that we usually overlook because we think Bollywood is the be-all and end-all. And that's our ignorance, and that is our extreme poverty, not knowing the riches in our own neighborhood. Okay, there's fantastic stuff coming out of Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, Afghanistan, that is at film festivals worldwide. Yeah, some of the producers are here and hope you can maybe talk about a little bit of your work, because I'd like Indians who are spectacular ignoramuses, or is it ignorami? I don't know, with 2 eyes, but there's a huge rich world beyond Bollywood that regularly gets in at festivals, and it's important to pay attention. It would be good for you to pay attention to all the stuff. So some more talents from India were in recent years. So there's Evan Iyer, who directed Sony, and Meel Patar, who's a director, screenwriter. There's Dominic Sangma, who's a director, writer, who made Mama in the Garo language from Meghalaya, from the Northeast. There's Tanmay Deo, who's a distributor and producer. I'm mentioning the different categories in which people get selected, not just a director or filmmaker, okay? Then from Pakistan, we have the wonderful Anam Abbas, who's a director, producer, cinematographer, very, very talented. She won the Talents Footprint MasterCard Enablement Program Award from Wim Wenders himself in 2020. She's also one of the co-founders of the Documentary Association of Pakistan, DAP. There's Simab Gul, who's a director, writer of Mulakat, Sandstorm, Venice. Abid Aziz Merchant, can you please say hello to everyone?
Hello, everyone.
So he's the producer of this wonderful film Mulakat and many, many other films. So thank you, Abid Saab, for joining us. Very grateful. Please tell us about Mulakat, but also some of your earlier other work, so we are more familiar with it, please.
Okay, sure. So Mulakat is this year's official selection in Horizonte section in Venice. And we are very proud that it's the second film from Pakistan ever to go into competition at Venice. So this particular film, जो है ये हमने कोरोना के टाइम में बनाई, so that's very important. You know, there were a lot of unsureties. We had our cinematographer coming in from Portugal. We didn't be able to come to Pakistan, whether he'll pass the, you know, the corona test and all. And then, you know, and when we started shooting on day 4 or 5 of the shooting, a lockdown was imposed.
Oh,
so, you know, so locations were locked. So it was made in such time where there was a lot of uncertainty. But, you know, as Meenakshi just said in the beginning of the talk, that we never aimed कि ये इस festival में जाएगी या उस festival में जाएगी. You know, me and Simab were talking about this project. We met in Locarno in 2018. And since, you know, we decided we'll collaborate together on something, and she had this wonderful idea, and it took almost 2 years in the making, a short film, 20 minutes. But, you know, it was never कि हम नहीं सोचा था हम भेजेंगे, हम Cannes भी भेजेंगे इसको, हम Venice भी भेजेंगे, हम Berlin भी भेजेंगे. But, you know, it was the story, the content. So I really believe in the content. मेरा Pakistan, I'm not a filmmaker. You know, Pakistan में फिल्में बनना बंद हो गई थी कुछ अर्सा पहले, मतलब कई सालों तक फिल्में नहीं बनती थी. So, you know, I'm not a filmmaker. I was a banker, 21 years in banking. Quit banking in 2013, started an arts initiative in Pakistan and was promoting visual arts from Pakistan. And then, you know, everyone was talking about revival of Pakistani cinema. So that's when I said, no, is tarah revival nahi hoga. Sirf Bollywood ki copies banakar Pakistani cinemas mein, you know, grand type ki filmein banakar revival nahi hoga. We need to do something more than that. I've been a film buff for a long, long time. I must have watched, I'm 48 years old and must have watched around 35,000 movies.
Wow.
I watch a lot of movies. I watch 100 films a month at least. So, you know, then I collaborated with, you know, with a few directors, Pakistani origin. We shot our first feature, I'll Beat You There, in New York, which is releasing in the UAE and GCC on the 12th of this month. It had a release in Los Angeles last month, and it was in competition at South by Southwest. Another of our project in development, Vakri, was one of the 15 from all over the world to go to Cannes at the L'Atelier. That's in development. Hopefully, Corona ending, we will start shooting next year. Then a short film, 1978, which was in competition in Locarno last year. And now this Mulakat, and another short, The End, which was in competition in the Ray of Hope at the UK Asian Film Festival. So in the past 3 years, you know, we worked on various different projects, collaborating with various different Pakistani directors who I thought have the potential, but they can't go into the mainstream. So I tried raising funds from them. I tried, you know, I assisted them in the production. In Mulakat, you know, I took the role of a producer, getting involved in all the aspects. So yeah, that's my small journey last 3 years, and have ended up in a few major festivals all over the world.
So happy to talk to you, Abid Saab. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really.
I do have a question for Abid Saab.
Yeah, sure.
I do have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Please,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, Abid Saab, I want to ask you that, like for us in India, Pakistani cinema, when we get to hear about Pakistani cinema, Shoaib Mansoor Saab's films are the ones that we are most familiar with, because and that's pretty mainstream if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
But you as a producer, as a creator, what gives you the courage to back a film where there are so many uncertainties attached? Because a lot of times people are not. They're not secure enough to go ahead with something like that. So how do you gather that courage?
So yeah, I'm a big risk taker. When I quit my thick pay, big paying job in the banking sector, and started promoting art, so you can see my risk taking appetite. So, and yes, as I told you, okay, I love films, and I wanted कि पाकिस्तान से कुछ ऐसी फिल्में आए जो कि हमारे पास से अभी तक कोई बड़े फिल्म फेस्टिवल्स में फिल्में नहीं गई थी पाकिस्तान से. In 75 years of history, I think our project Vakri became the first ever to go to l'Atelier at Cannes. So कुछ ऐसी चीजें, कुछ ऐसी स्टोरीज, मेरे ख्याल से कंटेंट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, और कंटेंट को मुझे हाईलाइट करना था, इस वजह से मैं इस इंडस्ट्री में एंटर हुआ हूँ.
Wonderful.
And of course the risk taking. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
This is like golden words for a filmmaker.
Definitely.
You will be drowning in requests after this, I hope. But, such a pleasure to know you, sir. Also, I just want to say something about Abid Saab. He's actually, as he mentioned, but there's something very special. I've never even met him, but I have such tremendous respect for him because he comes from a space of encouraging the visual arts, right? So he has this fantastic gallery, which I've never, unfortunately, gone. I haven't ever been to Pakistan, someday, inshallah, but called the Sanat Initiatives. He's got his own gallery and fantastic visual art. So he comes from a space of really sophisticated art and culture and a real appetite for fine arts wherever it happens, apart from having many other generous initiatives. But it's not the kind of money bags you see in Bombay is what I was saying, that you tend to see in Bombay. There are many sophisticated guys here, and thank God for them. I'm not putting down generally, but when somebody comes from a space of the arts, it's like a dream come true, because I would imagine they would give a creative person a lot more space than a financier type, right? So, yeah.
Form या content में से सर, अगर उन फिल्मों का क्या जिनका फोकस कंटेंट से ज्यादा फॉर्म पे होता है?
So in other words, what are your thoughts on producing a genre film? Is that more or less what you wanted to ask?
Yeah.
Kind of. Okay.
Yeah, depends. मतलब अगर genre film कोई again it comes to content मेरे हिसाब से. अगर genre film में भी content अच्छा होगा तो फिर ठीक है. Otherwise though it doesn't make sense. I've gotten sick and tired of watching the same genre films again and again. You see them every day.
Yeah.
So I think different kind of approach and different. The world has changed. The filmmaking has changed over the year. It's not the same running around the trees as we saw in the 50s and 60s Hindi cinema. So yeah, my preference would be content over form, definitely.
And ma'am, for you, like, even if a story is like, it's very simplistic, and in terms of content, it's not something that you have not seen before. Like, in the way it's being said, if that is something that's very experimental, for the lack of a better word, like, what would you watch a film like that, or would you kind of, if you had to kind of screen that film for an audience?
If somebody is trying to say something in an interesting way, but a convincing way. So I'm not interested in the monkey tricks of it, right? Oh, look at this cool lens or this blah, 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 or experimental. It's not for the sake of it. I'm open to everything. And I think I'm very, very utterly always be grateful to Berlin, because it really opened my eyes, because the festival accepts everything. So they accept, this is why, because they have a space for this. This is why I look out for all these. I look at features, I look at documentaries, I look at shorts, I look at experimental films, I look at animation films, I look at student diploma films, I look at everything, short films and everything, right? There's no category I don't look at. So the form and all is totally secondary. Exactly as Abid Saab said, the film has to have interesting content. Then you can say that in an interesting way. That is the second part. But if you don't have something to say, you're just looking at cool Tarantino shots or whatever it is, shots or undead zombie, pata nahi kya, I'm not impulsively impressed. right? But I'll come back to that because there is a valuable space for genre films, which people don't assume, my genre film will never get into Cannes or whatever, right? But there's a whole lot of festivals only for genre films. So there's plenty of space for you on the planet, Aryan, and anyone like you who wants to make, yeah? So it's not, acha, this won't be accepted in that. There's place for everybody. You just have to find who is the correct match. It's like a shadi match, right? You got to find the right partner. Partners are all there. 100 partners are there, 0 to 100. But you got to find the right one, the match, festival match for your film, right? I'll just run through. So we were on Pakistan talents from South Asia. We were talking about Seemab Gul. So it's Seemabgul, whose film Mulakat. So the English title is Sandstorm, is at the Venice Film Festival, as Abid Saab said. There was also, so she was in Berlinale Talents, and so was another very gifted talent, Nida Mehboob, who is a cinematographer from Pakistan. Then now all of these are just few examples. There are hundreds of talents from South Asia. I'm mentioning a few just so aapke kaan pe gire, so you're familiar with some names outside of Bollywood and outside of India. So much talent going on. I just want to draw your attention to it, okay? So this is by no stretch an encyclopedic exhaustive list. From Bangladesh, we have many talents, Berlinale talents, including Rubaiyat Hussain, who's a director and a producer, Sadia Khalid Riti, who's a critic, Mohammad Ali Haidar, who's a director and art director, production designer. From Sri Lanka, we have, okay, so don't panic if you can't get all these names. Everything is on Google Mata ki jai.
Facebook and
okay,
Google
not to
Mata.
panic. Google Mata ki jai. Okay. From Sri Lanka, there's Vimukti Jai Sundara and Pradeepan Ravindran. Vimukti is outstandingly gifted. Almost all his films have been at Cannes. He's been on the jury at Cannes and at top other festivals worldwide. From Nepal, we have Mint Bahadur Bam, who's a director and writer, and Asha Magrati, who's an actor who's now based in the US. These are all Berlinale talents, okay, I'm telling you. From Afghanistan, we have Sara Mani, who is a director, and Arzu Burhani, who's a writer and director. So a lot of talents who've been selected from all over South Asia, including India. And then I was telling you how there are many doors to the big party, right? So Berlinale Talents is kind of the lowest level at which, at the starter level, you can get in. And then you can graduate to others or get in through the other doors. And some people who've graduated to the party inside. So I'll give you just a couple of examples. So the World Cinema Fund, which I said was for countries whose film industry infrastructure is not very strong, or there are many challenges for filmmakers there. So India is not part of that party, but all our lovely neighbors are. So Mint Bahadur Bham from Nepal was in the Berlinale Talents in 2013. And he got World Cinema funding for his Kalo Poti, brilliant film called Kalo Poti, meaning Black Hen, which is at the Venice Film Festival in 2015, right? So he started at one party and went to the next bigger party, okay? There's also Qamar Ahmed Simon from Bangladesh, who was in Berlinale Talents in 2012, got World Cinema funding and was got funding for his next film, Shikol Baha, meaning Iron Stream, in 2017. There's also from Bangladesh, Arifur Rahman and Bijan Imtiaz, whose project Paradise was in another section of Berlinale called Berlinale Co-Production Market, where selected scripts are selected, and then you get to meet top producers worldwide who may be interested in producing a film, and it's for you to pitch to them and raise the money, right? So these guys are people who otherwise may never answer your emails or take your calls in a million years, but here they are in front of you, you're having coffee with them, and you're telling them about your film, you're pitching your film, right? So these are very rich opportunities. Okay, I'll just quickly move to what do festivals look for? So as I said, it's very hard to describe because it's art. It's not bricks that you've made to this measurement. It's right color, it's right weight, and I can buy it, but it's art. So it's very creative and it's very subjective and personal. So I would essentially say that film festivals look for something that's original, that is fresh, that is surprising, that is a revelation. Tell me something I haven't heard before, okay? Or even a familiar subject that's dealt with in a refreshing way, okay? I would definitely say, make the film you really want. I've explained this before. Don't make the film that XYZ wants to make, because then you might make a film you're not happy and they're not happy and doesn't get selected. Then you'll get really pissed off, okay? At least, even if it's not selected, at least you'll have the pleasure of saying, boss, मैंने मेरी मर्जी की picture बनाई. I made the film I wanted, right? Okay. The last tip I'd leave with you for this part, what do festivals look for, is make the film you really want to see as an audience. Making film that you really want is one. Make a film that you would love to see as an audience as well, because I'm assuming it's film lovers that will want to make a film, right? So there's a great importance I would give that. Okay, now the hot tips are basically in terms of, this is basically to do, okay, let's talk of the nuts and bolts, how to make your basic homework. One is you have to plan for time. So you would plan for a 1-year film festival strategy starting around the time kind of that you're approaching rough stage of your film. So 1 year from that time. Then you have to plan for the expenses, because it can be expensive submitting fees, because a lot of the top festivals have submission fees. So in order for your film to be submitted, you have to pay festival fees, and they're not cheap. Some of the top festivals go into like approximately, they all vary, can be like 5,000 for a short film, up to 10 to 15,000 in rupees, Indian rupees, for a feature film. And then there's no guarantee you'll get selected, right? So it's not cheap. A lot of the smaller festivals will be very happy to take your film for free, etc., etc. But plan, there is an expense involved, okay? Plan for manpower, who's going to plan it and execute it. Planner has to be you, I suggest. But somebody who's going to be at it for 1 year, you can't say, "Arey, now the production team is finished, unka salary khatam, so now I'll do it myself. Usne aadha kiya, maine aadha kiya. He did half of it. Now I'm going to continue." This continuity is very important, because one person you want who's been answering all the emails, doing all the follow-up, submitting all the forms, paying by credit card, paying the submission fees. You need a credit card especially for that, etc., etc. All the email back and forth correspondence, or you'll get 2 festivals will choose, oh my God, which one do we go for? So there's a long and detailed process of 1 year at least. It can be longer, but 1 year critically. And one intelligent, responsible person has to do it. Don't palm it off to the nearest AD or some minion who can answer emails. That's not what it's about, okay? I would say, when do you get into it? You start connecting at the time you're at your rough stage. You can alert festivals early on when you're starting your film, but the more detailed emails about the specifics of your film when you're nearing your rough cut stage, so that there is time till you have a fine cut. And then here's the big one on how to create a great film festival strategy. So I would say, basically, it's a combination of different criteria, and this might be helpful for you to jot a few points if you really are looking at it like Lambi Race Ka Ghoda and want to be at it like a career filmmaker. So it's a combination of different criteria. First, I would say, at the very simplest level, make a list of the top 5 filmmakers from your country or your region whom you know have been at film festivals worldwide. Okay, make a list. Whoever that is, it's purely a personal list. Okay, you put their name in Google, you put film festival, so-and-so plus film festival, you'll immediately get a long list of the film festivals that this person's films have been at. So you can put any filmmakers' names, the top ones if you like. Anurag Kashyap, Mani Ratnam, Lijo Jose Pellissieri from Malayalam, Vetri Maran from Tamil, Aparna Sen from Bengali, Reema Das from Assamese, Alankrita Srivastav, Indie, Hindi film, Hauban Pavan Kumar, who makes films in Manipuri, Pradeep Kurba, who made films from Meghalaya. So, from Bangladesh, so I'll just give you names, because these are all filmmakers who've been on film festivals for a while. They've sustained, most of them have been sustained in the game, okay? Even with their first film, they've had good festival runs. So you need to Google people in your own country. Just on Google, put the filmmaker's name and film festival. You'll just get a list of festivals. The other thing you can do is look up the filmmaker on IMDb. You'll get all their films. So put each film on Google Film Festival, you'll get all the festivals. So you'll end up with a huge pool of film festivals that they have been at. It doesn't mean you're a Mani Ratnam or you're an Anurag Kashyap. It simply means you have a list of festivals where a lot of the battle is won because they've already shown a film from India or Pakistan or Bangladesh or Sri Lanka. And they might be really interested in knowing about some other new talent from there. Okay, you're not starting from zero. You're not cold calling a festival. You might be writing them for the first time, but they have already showed films from South Asia, right? So there's already an openness and an interest. Oh, we showed this really interesting film 2 years ago. Maybe they have something equally interesting now. So there's an openness to watching films from this country instead of just, bunging it on the pile of films that may or may not be seen. So from Bangladesh, there's Mustafa Sarwar Farooqi, there's Rubaiyat Hussain, there's Abdullah Muhammad Saad, who's Rehana Mariam Noor, was at the Cannes Film Festival. It made history by being the first Bangladeshi film in the official selection. There's Abu Shahid Imon, there's Kamar Ahmad Simon, there's Aung Rakhain, Mahdi Hassan, Arifur Rahman, Bijon Imtiaz, and a whole lot of others. These are just a couple of names. From Sri Lanka, we have Ashoka Handagama, Prasanna Vithanage, Vimukti Jai Sundara, Prasanna Jaikori, many others. From Pakistan, we have Saim Sadiq, we have Seema Abgul, with, of course, Abid Aziz Merchant producing it. We have Sarmat Khusat, whose Zindagi Tamasha was whose English title is The Circus of Life, or Life is a Circus. Life is a Circus, which was at the Busan Film Festival. It won the Kim Ji-seok Award, like top prize, okay, from a film from Pakistan. There's Meenu Gaur and Farjad Nabi and a whole lot of other filmmakers. I'm just giving you a few names so you start paying attention to other filmmakers in the region. From Afghanistan, there's Siddiq Barmak, Roya Sadat, Sharbanu Sadat, who made Parvarishgah, The Orphanage, which was, I mean, all her films have been at Cannes, including her first film, short film, as well as Wolf and Sheep, and then Parvarishgah, which is The Orphanage. There's Diana Saqib Jamal, a filmmaker from Afghanistan, whose short film Rokeya was at the Venice Film Festival from Afghanistan, okay? Now, a lot of these countries are like devastated countries, devastated, horrendous politics going on, film industry though gone, and then they're still making these masterpieces, these jewels, which are film festivals worldwide. So I really salute them. Their battle is 10 times bigger than what we face in India. So I really salute them. From Nepal, we have Deepak Roniar, there's Min Bahadur Bam, Pooja Gurung, Debushan Basnet, Rajesh Prasad Khetri, Ramkrishna Pokharel, many others. From Bhutan, we have Dechen Roda and Tashi Gelchen, both of whom have been at Berlin. I'm just like, these names just to fall on your ears, let's say, like we say, you know, auspicious at, if you're earlier on the game, like, you know, when a child is born, you say auspicious things. So at the start of your journey, I want you to know all these wonderful filmmakers. Okay, so for the actual strategy here, we're talking nuts and bolts of festival strategy. I would say, so you did all this Google stuff of the top filmmakers in your region who've been selected, okay? That's the first part one, okay? Then I would say, make a list of your dream festivals where you dream of walking. I want dream of walking on the red carpet at Cannes. I dream of walking on the red carpet at Berlin, at Venice, Toronto, Busan, wherever your dream is. It doesn't have to be my dream. It's your dream, okay? However ridiculous, however preposterous, however insane it sounds, no problem. This is not about logic. This is about your dream. If it's your dream, put those festivals there. You don't want to say, boss, I sent my film to like 40 festivals, but you know, maybe I should have taken a chance at Venice. And you know, all these films are selected, but you know, you don't want to live with that regret. Send it. If it's selected, my God, you'll be thrilled, right? But if it's not, that's okay. You did your best. You won't live with that regret. So it's very important to put your dream festivals there. Then I would say, here's a very important, very important piece of advice. You need to look at something called the FIAF festivals. It's an acronym. I'll say very slowly. FIAPF. FIAF. Okay. It's an acronym for a body that rates film festivals. Okay. Like you want to go to, okay, a holiday in Sri Lanka, you want the best hotel there. You look on, you know, Travel Advisor, Trip Advisor, look at the ratings of hotels and find a good one, right? So this body is the one that rates the film festivals. So 100% you should look at that because you can straight away send it to the festivals listed there. They are the top festivals which are accredited. So you and I may not have heard of them. You'll say, Kalovivari, kya hai? Kidhar hai? Kaun se desh mein hai? Google Map pe hai kya? But boss, it doesn't matter what you and I know or think. These are the top festivals in the world. So if you're selected there, you're made, okay? So pay attention to those festivals, and they already have a ready-made listing of where you can send your festival to, and they have categories. So they have 15 competitive film festivals, by which I mean the festival has a competition section. So there is Cannes, Berlin, Venice, Toronto, Moscow, Karlovy Vary, which is in the Czech Republic, by the way, outstanding film festival. I've been on the jury, then it's like, they're gorgeous. There's Shanghai, there's Montreal, there's Tokyo, Ifi, Goa, Mar del Plata, which is in Argentina. So stuff like that, okay? So then they have a competitive specialized festivals, which means like the festival competition section is not open to everybody. Like Busan it's only for first and second films, okay? Or Mumbai festival is only for first features. Kerala festival is only, the competition section is only for films from Asia, Africa, Latin America, stuff like that, okay? There are also non-competitive festivals which don't have a competition jury, like Toronto or Rome. They don't have a competition jury awarding prizes like the Golden Bear or Palme d'Or. It's more a people's festival. So there'll be audience prizes and other prizes, but not this jury kind of prize, okay? There's a whole lot of Asian festivals. So we are usually, typically, like all Indians, all South, running after festivals in the West. Of course, they're important. Cannes, Berlin, Venice, Toronto, really important. But pay a lot of attention, I would recommend, to festivals in Asia, because we have a lot in common with them, and they're really important festivals at them, important festivals as well. So there's Busan, Shanghai, Tokyo, IFI, IFF Kerala, Mumbai Festival, Kolkata, IFI Goa, Hong Kong, Singapore, Melbourne, right? So these are a lot of the important festivals in Asia. There are many others. Then at the next level, I would say you would send it to Indian or South Asian festivals overseas. So there are festivals that show only Indian and only South Asian films, but they are outside South Asia. So the New York Indian Film Festival, IFLA, which is Indian Film Festival of Los Angeles in the US, LIF, which is the London Indian Film Festival, IF Stuttgart, which is in Germany, River to River, which is in Florence in Italy, Indian Film Festival, Melbourne. There's South Asian festivals like this Tasveer, TASVEER, which is SAF, SAFF, which is South Asian Film Festival. There's Chicago SAF, MISAF in Mississauga in Canada. And of course, there are international film festivals in India, right? Like IFI Goa, like I mentioned, in all these countries, there are international festivals in India, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, in Sri Lanka, in Nepal, Bhutan, all of these countries. So what you would do, now you have a whole big pool, right? You have a short list of film festivals. From this, you will select the ones most suitable for your particular film. So you'll make a master list for your film, which is tailored depending on your actual time or the budget. Like if you made a film now that's ready today, we are 7th August. If you've got a fine cut of your film today, can you send it to Cannes? No, Cannes was already over, right? It was over in May, June. Usually it's in May, but because of COVID, a lot of dates are going haywire a little bit. So it's already over. So if you want to send it to Cannes, you'll have to wait for next year's Cannes. By then there are, 100 other festivals, right? So the Janam Patrika of your film decides which festival your festival journey can start at. Not, you can have a list, but actually it depends on when you finish your film or have a rough cut, fine cut. So that's whichever festivals are from that time on, like the ones that are now, like Toronto and Venice are already announced, although they are already announced a while back, although they're in August, September, but they've already announced. So now there'll be the later ones you're looking at, which are in October, November onwards, like Busan onwards, etc., right? So when your film is finished is which decides which festivals you send it to, okay? Then you have, I would ask you to be alert and subscribe to the newsletters on each festival that you want to attend, because a lot of festivals, the eligibility rules, a lot of rules, dates are all shifting because of COVID-19. So they're not what you would have known even last year. They keep changing all the time. So I suggest you subscribe to your newsletters. Then FIAC also has a category of documentaries and shorts, okay? Apart from them, there are, even if they are not accredited, some of the top festivals for documentaries and shorts are Hot Docs in Toronto, Canada, Oberhausen in Germany. There's Yamagata in Japan. There's Sheffield in the UK. There's Clermont-Ferrand in France. There's Tampere, Clermont-Ferrand, sorry, it's a posh name. CLERMONT-FERRAND, which is for short films. There's Tampere in Finland. There's the Kerala IDS FFK. There's shorts are also at Cannes, Berlin, Venice, many festivals, right? Mulakat, for example, Abid Saab's film is a short film, 20-minute film that's at Venice. Then I would say, then there are these specialized films. So you can have there are festivals for student films, genre films. Aryan, your famous question, I'll come to that in a minute. There are festivals and there are sections within the main festivals for example, LGBT films. So the Berlin Festival has a whole section called Panorama, which is for artistic films, but it's also very alert and encouraging of films on LGBT themes, right? It's not only that, but it really pays attention to that. There's also, of course, the Kashish Mumbai International Queer Film Festival. There are children's film festivals, but there's also in Berlin, there's a huge important section, which is part of official selection called Generation, which is only for films for children and young adults, right? There are environmental film festivals, there are women's film festivals, there are human rights film festivals. So all these considerations can also come into your strategy of depending on what your film is about. Then there are genre festivals, so which have a lot of romance, action, drama, sci-fi, thriller, undead, zombie, shombi, Aryan department specialty. So
it's not my department specialty.
Okay, my favorite question.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of these festivals are called, so they're part of major festivals also. For example, at Toronto, there's something called Midnight Madness. So a lot of the midnight slots will be for these cool, terrifying films, zombie department, etc., or, all these, the genre films. So they show it in a midnight slot. And there are also entire festivals only devoted to them. For example, last month I was in the jury of a very charming festival called the Busan International Fantastic Film Festival. So there's a whole lot of festivals in the world called Fantastic Film Festival, which doesn't mean literally the adjective, but it means like the fantasy, but the implication being really this genre films, right? So it was actually a terrifying experience for me to be on its international jury, because I get very easily scared. I cannot bear horror films. I cannot bear, rape and murder and gore and squirty ketchup everywhere. So I'm always kind of looking away and telling my neighbor, oh, please tell me when the scene is over. And now I had to be on a jury and watch entire films with my eyes open. So that was a big learning curve for me, very steep, but I must say I really enjoyed it. And it's lovely to learn something new. And okay, hot tips now, what to do, what not to do. What to do, I will start. So the first most important thing to remember, finding a good festival match for your film is like getting your daughter married. Find her a great groom yourself. Don't dump it on the AD. Don't hire some minion because he knows a little English. Don't outsource it. I mean, you can give it to any of these options. You can give it to an agent. You can give it to a fixer, all kinds of people on the planet who will, but I suggest if she's your daughter and you want her to be happy, bloody well do it yourself. Why are you listening to me if you're going to finally get some fixer to do it? Okay. Why are Whitebirdtrails and Aryan and everybody taking so much effort? Do it yourself, bloody hell. It's your baby, come on. Okay, so what you need to do is, I mentioned about planning for time and money and manpower. What's a good time? I told you around the time of the rough cut. Okay, biggest mistake that everyone makes. Read the bloody website. It takes you 10 minutes. It's free. It's on Google. Put Berlin Film Festival on free Google. Okay, you'll get the website. Just spend 10 minutes reading it, please. I beg you, I beg you, I beg you. 90% of filmmakers that I look at from South Asia don't read websites, don't read eligibility rules, just send it. Then they will pay 15,000 and said, "Arey Meenakshi, I got an email saying it's not eligible. Humko refund dilwana na." I said, "No, boss. I'm not in charge of refunds. And why the hell didn't you read it?" Right? So I get this all the time. I'm not refunds department, and serve you right. I wish it were 30,000 so that you begin to read the website. It's all free stuff, guys. Come on. Yeah, just grow up a little bit. 10 minutes to read the website. But the important thing is the big mistake. Okay, I'll come to the big mistakes in a minute. So please apply to all the sections. There are each festival, the top ones have 10 to 15 sections. Some of them have 7, 8 sections. Read them all. Because what Indians typically do is apply only for competition, and we don't apply to the others. Then it may be rejected from there. Whereas all these other sections would love to have your film, right? Many of them have bitterly complained to me, "Arey Meenakshi, why did that filmmaker not take our section? I saw it. This was in the DVD days. So I saw link. It's fantastic. I would love to have selected it, but the filmmaker's too arrogant and only ticked competition. So the other sections cannot select it because you didn't tick it. It's just a tick. It's just a tick. And it changes the whole life of your film and your whole career from that one tick. So just tick, but only tick where it is actually eligible. Then Indians are lazy. Then they'll pick everything. Okay. Then they'll put murder, mystery, gore, genre for bacha section, environmental section, LGBT section. Boss, 5 minutes, just read something. Na? Your whole life will change. Not only film, your whole life will change. Okay. Just read. Okay. Then, then you make a double calendar list. Make a calendar list. So you'll have a list of deadlines, which deadline is when. So now 7th August. So what are the deadlines in August, September, October, etc. Then you'll have a separate calendar. What are the actual festival dates? The deadline may be 7th August, but the festival is starting in October, correct? So they're two different things. So in case it's selected, you have to plan to go, visa, shiza, look at what Abid was saying, nightmare with Corona, etc. So pay attention. And most important, please pay a lot of attention and pay good money to get good, high quality English subtitling. We've got a wonderful, gifted English subtitling here, expert here, Francois Xavier Durandi. Hi, Francois. Thank you so much for joining us. He's based in France and he's a very, very, very gifted English subtitler in Hindi. He translates Hindi films into French, right? He does French subtitling of Hindi films. He's a wonderful Hindi, Urdu, and you should look at his page. It's really cool. But Francois, please tell us briefly about your work and why it's important.
I hadn't planned to say anything today, but I think it is important. I think somebody much more important than me said once that good subtitles won't save a bad film, but bad subtitles can ruin a good film, an otherwise good film. So you should pay importance to the subtitle.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That is a real pearl of wisdom. And this is the one place where 90% of Indian films get rejected, which are actually very good films, because they'll just say, oh God, we have to do subtitling. We forgot only. Acha, chalo. They'll pakro the AD. Acha, your wife knows English, na? Haan, 2 din mein kar lena. Do it in 2 days, right? The standard Indian strategy, South Asian, because you're so stressed with filmmaking. It's such a challenging thing. I completely understand. But boss, if the budget for subtitling is not in your initial festival budget, first of all, you need to have a festival budget when you're thinking of the film. If you're paying a cinematographer, you're paying an actress, you're paying an actor, you're paying an editor, you have to put subtitling budget there. Am I saying the right thing, Francois? And you have to put a festival strategy budget there. Okay, don't say, oh my God, now my money is all over. I've not paid everybody this one, that one. I owe XYZ money. Now what to do? Okay, now your AD's wife, because she knows English, she will do it. Or 2 din mein karke dena, because I have to send this submission form in 2 days. It is appalling. You bloody well treat your subtitlers like you would treat Kareena Kapoor if she was acting in your film, or Amitabh Bachchan. They deserve full respect because, and I'll tell you why, this is the only way, please remember, however great your film is, you can be a masterpiece in Malayalam, Tamil, Sherdukpen, any language. It can be in Assamese, in Turkish, in Burmese, in Colombian. The only way an audience that doesn't know your particular regional language will understand is by the subtitles, okay? It is the only way somebody who wants to buy your film will understand. It's the only way you'll get box office. It's the only way to get on OTT. Okay, on online platforms, streaming platforms. This is the one way which should be the #1 priority for marketing, because this is the one thing that will market your film when people understand what you're saying, right? Your first budget should be for high quality. Just find out who the best paid ones are, why they're paid. Don't go by the budget. Find out who are the good ones. You see their films and see if you like that quality, right? You want to pay for really high quality ARs because you can make masterpieces and they will be in some dustbin if nobody understands what is being said. I have died of many great films being rejected at Berlin because some AD's wife or some AD or some minion did the subtitling overnight. And, you know, the filmmaker has taken so much talent to bring it to a very poignant, heartbreaking moment in the climax where, oh my God, something horrible is happening and you want to protect that heroine from this horrible thing happening. So you're like, oh, please don't. And there's some tacky subtitling and everybody bursts out laughing because it is so ridiculous, right? And you've lost that moment. If you've lost that moment, you've lost your audience. Okay. All because you wanted to save money here, but you have lost a huge film and its entire international and Indian South Asian possibilities for finding a market and an audience and box office because you did kanjoosgiri in paying and finding a good subtitling person. That is not a place to count pennies at all. It's totally penny wise, pound foolish. Find out a damn good one, world class. Actually, I was forced to get into it because I was doing such great films for Berlin, looking at great films. We did rubbish. So I've actually been doing it for some years. So I do it in several languages. But you have to find out on your own a good one and pay them good money. Yeah? Okay. Thank you, Francois, for joining us. That was really precious. Okay. Then, common festival mistakes. That's kind of our last. So as I mentioned it earlier, but just to remind you, the commonest mistakes, and if you pay attention to this, your chances of selection are hugely, greatly increased. As I said earlier, pay attention to the website, read the rules, read eligibly for all the sections. Never, never, never apply only for competition, and never apply for all. You have to take 5 minutes to apply for all the sections where it is eligible and appropriate. So for example, you've made a great feature film that is an LGBT theme, for example, okay? So now, is it eligible in Berlin for the children's section? No, it's an adult film that's made in a very sensitive artistic way. So a children's section is not a natural slot, but Panorama is, because they look at artistic films which are also of LGBT themes as well. So you need to tick that section, but don't enter it in some environmental thing. Like, just read it, okay? Be careful, because the minute you tick all, the festivals are very carefully watching all the rejects, because you'll get a reject letter that it's rejected from this because it's not eligible, but it is a reject letter. You'll end up with a huge pile of rejections. And then you'll think, you know what, I'm a bakwas filmmaker, I can't make films. Actually, it is just not paying attention where it's needed. You may be very gifted, but you'll come to the wrong conclusion and you lose your confidence when you get 30 rejection slips in your first year. Yeah. So please read it. Secondly, in festivals like Berlin, the fees are the same. It's a flat rate, whether you apply for one section or 10, but apply where it is actually eligible and appropriate. Then I would request you to be cautious when using platforms like Film Freeway, Without a Box, etc., etc. They may be very useful, but you have to know whether when they say tick off the festivals where you want to be at, and you say tick, 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 tick. Okay, these 20 festivals. Do you know when it sends to Berlin, which section is it sending for, right? Do you know that? If you don't know, you should make a strategy where you can control that, is what I suggest, okay? Okay, just a very quick snapshot of Berlinale. What do you get if you're at Berlinale? This is my last piece of info. Just to see the resources that come to your at your disposal if you're selected at a festival like Berlin, for example. The theater, what they call theater admissions, the people that entered the theater with a ticket, 4,79,000, so almost 5 lakh. This many people saw films in these 10 days or 11 days. Tickets sold, public tickets sold, 3,30,000. So a lot of festivals, generally the way it works is you get budgets usually paid by the government. You'll get some city funding, some mayor's thing, some sponsors, some combo. Berlin is one of the few which is greatly a people's festival. It loves the people to enjoy movies. So it makes a lot of effort for them to enjoy it. And the public loves them too. So they sell on an average 3,30,000 tickets on an average festival of 10 days, which is a huge, like, public wants to pay ticket because they know they'll get to see good films, okay? And the accredited professionals, film professionals that come there, 22,000, all in one place in 10 days, in those 10 hotels around, okay? Of these, about 18,000 are accredited guests from 132 nations. So they're film producers, film distributors, salespeople, programmers, etc., etc. And just critics and press alone are 3,447, almost 4,000 from 82 nations. That's a huge resource. An individual film producer or filmmaker would never be able to afford that. So all of this is at your disposal. So they're not there to see only your film. They're there to see everything. It's up to you to reach out and network and persuade them to take full advantage. And of course, most major festivals have all kinds of similar opportunities also at Cannes, at Venice, at Toronto, Busan. The Locarno Open Doors has had a fantastic program for years to encourage young filmmakers and mentoring and all these other opportunities as well. So make the best of it. And I'm going to leave you with a tip because I write about these things all the time on my page. If you want to follow me, I'm on facebook.com/Shedde Meenakshi. I'm on Twitter at Meenakshi Shedde. I'm on Instagram at Meenakshi Shedde. So if you want to kind of keep following my work, and because I keep posting about stuff, so that's where you can find me. But thank you very, very, very much for listening into a lot of info in a short time. And I'm very, very happy to take questions from any of you. So Aryan, can you just flag questions that people are answering on the chat box?
Yeah, sure. This is something that even I wanted to know. This is from Tathagat Ghosh. He asks that for short films, is length important and how much? Though I know shorter the better, but if a story needs 28 minutes to tell, is that okay? Or is that a big no-no? If it kind of, so basically what he's asking is, if it goes beyond
Can you please trace Tathagat Ghosh? Thank you, Tathagat, for joining us. I'd like everybody to see him, please. Can you pin him? He's, thank you so much for joining us, Tathagat. Very, very pleased. Very, very gifted filmmaker. He's made a number of films. Also was at the Balnala Talents this year. So about length, I don't think there's a one-shot answer for that. A simple Google check will quickly tell you how they vary. On an average, there is no one answer to that. Each festival has its, so thank you for asking a very important question. Each festival has its own definition of what makes a short film. Okay, for Berlin, it's less than 30 minutes. Okay, however, Berlin has another section called Generation, which used to have, it doesn't have it now. Within Generation, which the Generation section was for children and young adults. Okay, now within that, there was a subsection also for shorts because, you know, that's how it organically grew. That deadline, timeline was only 20 minutes. So even in the same festival, you have two definitions of what constitutes a short film. So there is no single answer. I would say as rule of thumb, I would say 30 minutes is often like in Cannes, etc. I mean, you can check, you'll have to really check each festival because they have their own definition. And some festivals take a much larger view. They say anything that is not a feature length film, 60 minutes, anything shorter than 60 minutes is a feature length film. Okay, then other people are more interested ki 52 minutes hai to TV pe ja sakta hai. You know, all these other calculations that come in because you want to recover the money, you want your producer, you want him to get his money back at least, so you can make your next film, he can make his next film, because it's also a kind of, you know, boge, it's a responsibility the artist feels, the producers should recover some money at least, right? So you're aware of opportunities that can come by at festivals or at television or online or theatrical or wherever it is, right? So those are important things to think about. And I think it's a very valid and important question you asked, but there is no one answer. So you just have to maybe make a list of festivals you think you will tap, maybe make a list of television channels you think you will tap, and then just Google and see docu shorts, what are their, you know, they'll all be listed there, more or less. Festivals for sure will list. Television, I guess, you know, and OTT and all, it's usually, I guess it's easy to find out. And there are so many online platforms for shorts, etc., right? Oh, thank you for leading me. Sorry, I'll just quickly finish because this big black hole where a lot of filmmakers fall into. If your film is online, it's not going to be at a film festival. Don't say, oh man, my film was on YouTube for 2 years. Please, festival mein dalo, as if it's my like baap ka maal or something. Dalo mane what? Are you asking me to put tadka in the dal? Dalo means what? Get me into a festival means what? Are they bananas growing on trees? Boss, have some respect for your own work, right? Don't talk to people like that, right? It's embarrassing for me, right? So, so if your film is online, usually, like YouTube, definitely, at least the top festivals won't take it. If there are some small ones, I don't know. I mean, they might. But in general, put yourself in their shoes. If you're a festival programmer or festival director, if everybody has seen it on YouTube, what is the big deal in your showing it and expecting people to come and see it on your channel on the thing? It makes programming doesn't make sense, right? So it's just a common sense thing, but please be careful because a lot of people are not aware of this. So thank you. But you wanted to ask something else, Athaga?
Yeah, Meenakshi, thank you for answering that so wonderfully. The reason why I asked this question is because it has happened previously that I have submitted my film to a festival, and the programmer has written back to me saying that he or she or they have liked the film. But because it crosses the 20-minute mark, it would have been, they would have accepted it if it's below 20 minutes, though they like the film, but still they said that just because the length is a little problem, we love the film, but we would rather program 2 15 minutes film rather than programming a film which is closer to 30 minutes. So, I mean, though it's the film works for them. So that is the only reason. And sometimes it gets a little frustrating and I get a little sad, but yeah, so that's. But
Athaga, you know, I think thank you for raising this very important question because it'll happen to a lot of filmmakers. You have to treat this whole festival chakkar like an adventure.
Yeah.
You win some, you lose some. You can't be brokenhearted. I really wanted to be an unhone nahi liya because, you know, boss, it's okay. Your Janam Patrika came like that. Okay, I'm born a woman. Now what can I do? If I want to be at a festival that only shows men's films, what can I do? I don't want to feel bad about it. No, I'll just find some other cool options that respect my work, right? So thank you, Tathagat.
Which film festivals, not exclusively for documentaries, other than Berlin, are open to showcasing creative documentaries?
Oh, all the good ones are. When you say creative, so I think that word has been going on for a long time. So it's not something new now in the documentary world. Even in India and South Asia, we've been doing creative documents for a long time. So if you were paying attention, I mentioned about 10, 12 or 15 documentary and short film festivals. You can sell at that. If you missed it, everything is on
Google Mata.
Mata. Yeah.
So yeah, even I happen to be the father of a 35-minute long film, and yeah, thank you so much. And so like I was going to take that questions from Tathagat sir, because I mean, as you mentioned, like sometimes the festival programmers, they say like, okay, yahan se hata, wahan se wo hata do. What if like for a film like that, in order to be seen, how do you get your film seen if even if it's not meeting certain eligibilities or you know, all those things, technicalities?
I think I took 1 hour to answer that question, Aryan.
Yeah, I mean, but like getting it seen in a where, you know, there's so many films in a festival. How to get that film across?
You mean once it's selected?
Yeah.
Thank you for a super question. Okay, this is a fantastic question. I'm not sure I have a brilliant answer to that. But Aryan's question is, once a film is selected, like Berlin shows 400 films in one festival, right? Over 10 days or 11 days. So how do you get your film? So this is entirely depends on how much the filmmaker is burning, and he makes the connection and he goes out and meets people. And there's a very, very, very thin line between following people and stalking them and pestering them. Okay, you don't want to be slapped with a chappal because somebody is really sick of you. Okay, or a high heel. But that's your one chance in life, boss, when you're at a festival like any of the big ones where, you know, you want either somebody who's in distribution or sales, or a critic or a salesperson or somebody who can buy it, or a distributor, TV channel, OTT person to see your film. So you can prepare for this. So Berlin, for example, the big advantage of Berlin, it has a huge, fantastic thing alongside called the European Film Market, called EFM for short. And it is a huge advantage because it's the first big market in the year. So if your film is already selected at Berlin in the festival part, you can take advantage and also be at the EFM, which is simultaneous, and make the first step in your journey towards finding a market worldwide, right? So because it's the first in the calendar year, usually festival is in Berlin. Festival is in February. Also next year's dates are fixed. It's 10 to 20th of February, 2022. So what happens, it's the first big market in the year. So you may make a sale at that time, but it's like I said, it's like getting your daughter married. So the first girl you meet, or the first date you go on Tinder, you might not marry the first person you see. You might meet a few times and then you say, you know, this one bucks too much, or that one, you know, oh, whatever, right? She was so rude to me, or asked me about my salary or my job, or blah, blah, blah. And then you decide, you know, this person was quite nice. So it'll take a while to arrive at that. So people often like to make the first meetings, which can be very productive, or the initial meetings, and then they meet them again at Cannes or wherever, other festivals or American Film Market or wherever, and take that relationship forward, get to know each other better, their taste, how much budget. He'll say, no, this will say, nahi, mera budget itna hi hai. Then you say, no, but it's gone to these festivals. Then, you know, then you negotiate, etc. So it takes time. Yeah, it's a relationship, right? So I remember this wonderful example. What is his name? I'm very bad with names, and please forgive me if I can't remember. So it was a film many years ago, an Indian film, maybe 10 years back, that was selected at the Locarno Film Festival. Okay, this guy landed up, and please forget, it was a film, something to do with the theme of Krishna. Like there was a Krishna figure and a fictionalized, very interesting. Oh God, I'm really just dying. But if you remember, if any of you are able to jog my memory, please do. And he's a guy primarily from advertising. Ram. I'm coming close, but please remind me if you can.
Ramani?
No, not Ramani. But he I was so impressed by, he did to answer your question. He had no budget. He landed up, his film is at Locarno. He doesn't know anybody, right? You know what he did? How to get people's attention, right? Exactly what you're asking. You know what this darling man did? He bought a bunch of Post-its. On that, he either stamped or wrote or printed, I don't know, may have written with a ball pen or just stamped, like Post-its. He went on sticking them on every car and bike he could find in the vicinity. Or maybe, you know, where you're like, not to be rude and put it on the glass or where you're entering, but the more informal space. And, you know, you can just peel it off, right? It's not offensive. It's like, it's not ruining your glass. But he said, I got a huge buzz from people who said, what is this Indian film? We never heard of it. right? It's definitely a Ram. I'm almost sure of it.
Ram Madhwani? Someone said
Ram Madhwani. I'm almost sure it's Ram Madhwani. Thank you. I would have died of shame not remembering.
Sunita Jariwala.
Long time
Thank
back.
you so much,
you.
Sunita.
Is that Sunita?
Yeah, Sunita Jariwala.
Jariwala who told us?
Yeah.
Thank you, Sunita. Thank you also for joining us. Very grateful. I would have just not been able to sleep tonight. So Ram Madhwani, so this was his strategy. So this doesn't come out of a book. Nobody teaches you this at, business B school, right? This is just your burning. You really want people to see a film and you got no money. So each one invents their own way, but this was one classic way. Other than, of course, so in Berlin, for example, you can look at the people attending the EFM, the European Film Market, all long list of all the buyers, the sellers, the TV guys, etc., producers, distributors, yeah, all these guys from all different territories. They're all the 132 countries. So once you enter the European Film Market, you need a badge to enter. You have to pay for it. But once you enter, you can meet anyone. Just sit down over a chair and just chat, or you can buy a coffee. Or you don't have to have an expense. If you've got a budget, you can have a stall, etc., right? But if you don't have that budget, that's cool. You can just still go in and say hello to people there. Yeah. Yeah.
So our next question is from the director of See You Soon and Malik, Mr. Mahesh Narayanan. So yeah, sir, if you want to, you can just unmute yourself and go ahead.
But yeah, please pin him. Thank you so much, Mahesh Narayan, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Very, very, very grateful. Thank you. You honor us by joining us.
Thank you, Meenakshi. Thank you so much. So, thank you for having me. So the thing is, again, I want to ask you the same thing. Like, since our films are all going into the digital platforms and they're all taking the worldwide rights, how to move ahead with festivals? I don't know.
Okay, that is a very tricky one. Yeah. Because normally, the same logic of if you put yourself in the film festival director's shoes or the programmer's shoes, if everybody can already see a film that's on Netflix or Amazon or any other online or YouTube, why will somebody buy a ticket to come to your festival and see that film? That makes no sense, right? So this is a very murky, new question, new problem that has started now with no alternative to online. I think it is for the time being, for these 1 or 2 brutal years which is the
So I came up with a solution, like, from the next film onwards, like I'm going to ask them, like, whether it is whether they can give me a certain set of permissions for India region alone. Or
absolutely, sir. No, sir. I would actually encourage you to be more ambitious, but ideally it would be, I don't know, you would ideally be a lobby of filmmakers who really want to lobby for this. It can't be just you fighting here for one film. They are, mega corporations worldwide, right? So if you go with the clout of the Indian industry or an industry body bringing pressure or a group or a union or whatever, right? Then you can bring some pressure because, and I'll tell you why. So actually, if a film is already at Cannes, Berlin, Venice, then everybody wants to see it when it comes on Netflix or Amazon, right? Wow. What is the value of a festival? I've struggled for 23 years to explain to people the value of a festival, of course, is prestige, but the true value of a festival is to expand your box office. You can expand your box office by reaching to markets where otherwise traditionally you'll never work. For example, if you make a Tamil film, you already know your market. It's UK, it's the Tamil and diaspora audience, UK, US, Middle East, Singapore, Malaysia, etc., right? Sri Lanka, these few and a few more territories, plus or minus, right? Basically, it's this broad thing. Okay, how long are you going to make films only for diaspora audience or Tamilians? You know what? Are you happy with that? Don't you want the world to see it? Don't you want me sitting in Bombay to see your film? Don't you want somebody in America or China or Korea or Lithuania? Why not? So at festivals, you're able to get the opportunities to be people from non-traditional territories where you can expand the traditional audience, right? That's the only way you can actually make what we call an exponential growth than reaching to the same guys that Tamil films or Malayalam films have reached out for 100 years, right? Your audience is fairly established worldwide, right? But how to go beyond that? Like Dangal made more money in China than it made in India. Wow. I mean, is that not telling you something? More money in China than in India, which is already one of the biggest markets in the world, right? That is fantastic. And of course, every film is not a Dangal, but it tells you there's an untapped market there, which we need to tap, is what I wanted to alert you, right? So, sir, to be more specific about your question, I would really encourage a lobby to fight for this because of a gorgeous, gorgeous film like Alfonso Cuarón's Roma. It's a Netflix film, but they waited till it was at festivals, it won the top prize at Venice, and then it went on Netflix, right? So in other words, different rules for different people, which I don't like, but I'm nobody to say that. I'm not a practicing film. But what I'm saying is there are precedents where, which is, I feel it's entirely to their advantage. If your film has got insane publicity at Cannes or Berlin or Venice, that is huge publicity, which they will save their budget now because everybody's anyway talking about it, buzz is there. And then if it's shown on an online. So in other words, to delay that little bit, that window between production and give a little festival play, little breather, which to me totally benefits the film, right? And they hardly need to be convinced because they've done it themselves, na? But Roma ke liye kiya humko nahi karte hain. You know, this is a bit, for me, hard to stomach. But as filmmakers, I really feel that since there have been precedents, there are probably many other precedents in other countries. I don't know, but it's totally worth, because for me, it's not us versus them. It's win-win. If they get more visibility and many more people see it after the festival run, everybody is win-win, right? Is how I see it, right?
True,
so I think it's totally worth pushing for it. And I also feel, I mean, you will know more, you will know better, sir. Do you think, I mean, I'm assuming that online is here to stay anyway, but there may be more windows for theatrical opening up. Some films really need that, etc., etc. What are your,
the problem what we are facing right now is because, you know, straight away we'll sign it for the second window. Second window means after the theatrical.
Correct.
So the problem now with the theaters are all closed. So now they approach for the first window and saying that, okay, now we should have the world premiere so that, you know, so and so money will be given. So apparently I'm not the producer of all the films. So produce, like take for an example, for a film like Malik, it's slightly on a larger budget. So the producer will get inclined to that, their motives, and he'll be pressurized to do that. So I can't, like, so I've told some senior persons that, you know, certain at times we need to have this kind of a momentum where at least give the Indian region alone and then exclude all the other territories. But you know, it's not happening right now. So that's what we need to fight for. That's true.
But unless there are numbers, you know, a number of filmmakers, you know, who have something at stake and come together to pressurize.
It's happening. But the thing is that, you know, they give away the same norms and clause for every film. And these corporate clauses are not there because 90 days or 120 days, they're keeping this exclusivity margin. So, you know, that's the problem. So these are all the bad times which we are facing through this COVID times. No theatrical date, nothing happening. But even if it's for theatrical, then I can actually persuade my producer to wait for a while and then move it to some place and then get into it.
Correct. I would just alert everyone, I don't know if you're familiar with his work, Mahesh Narayanan, absolutely brilliant film. He has his latest film called Malik with Fahad Fazil, which, oh my God, he's really one of India's finest actors. Please watch this film if you haven't. And he's made a whole lot of earlier very good work, including Take Off and See You Soon, etc. But this one is on Amazon right now. So please make it a point. It's Malik, M-A-L-I-K, with Fahad Fazil and a whole ensemble cast, outstanding, with Nimisha Sajan and just fabulous cast, and very sensitive subject, which I admire that films are made about what is going on in this country and seeing how this country is going. So big salute to all of you on the team and everyone who supports you. Big salute, isn't it? Yeah, big hand for him, please. This is like leading from the front, leading the battle from the front. So tremendous respect for you, sir. Thank you. Thank you
so much for asking that question.
Sunita, were you saying something? Sorry, Sunita. Sorry. Hi, thank you for joining us. Thank you. Aryan, anyone else too?
So there's one question that Sejal Purohit has asked, is that what can we receive, like how can we benefit from festivals with the travel restrictions and everything going on that are being done online, and, you know, where you can't attend it. So how to, you know, make the best use out of that?
Okay, so thank you for an important question. So the answer is, just as your film is not being shown necessarily in a theater sometimes, so a lot of festivals are still in flux this year. There are no set rules for everybody. So some festivals are completely online. Some are doing what is called the school word, like hybrid. So some screenings are in theaters, but the majority usually are online. So also meetings are happening online. For example, even in India, like Film Bazaar, which is a very precious, extremely precious, I would say, nurturing ground for initial forays for Indian and South Asian filmmakers looking for funding, mentoring, programming. They have labs as well as, mentors for work in progress, etc. And of course, a co-production market where you can pitch, etc. But they were completely online. So you met all your potential people and you met a whole lot of people who had no idea. So they'll put up a list of all the people who have registered. Okay. There'll be somebody from America, from Denmark, from China, from Japan, so and so, from India, from Pakistan, from Bangladesh. So everybody whom you would have met at Cannes or not met because they might not give you an appointment. Actually, I know people who met whole lot more people online because ghar baithe hi acha 10 minute ka meeting you can do, whereas, oh my God, you have to run from after the screening, you have to run to that place because usne coffee pe that hotel La Martiniere, he has called you and you have to run, and then you have to run back and you miss the screening because you couldn't get no time. So actually there's an insane amount of running around at festivals when you're physically there. But here I definitely know filmmakers, film producers who are very thrilled with the online because they met 15, 20 people, whereas physically they would struggle to meet 2 or 3 of these guys. And people sitting at home, they don't mind. I mean, they're not going to waste their time with idiots, but they're also looking, producers are also looking for films to fund, right? Please always remember that things are always a two-way process. Just as much as you are so much keen to get into a festival, festivals are also keen to get really good films. We are also chasing good films, hai na? So it's not, so don't feel ki, don't feel, I would suggest, don't feel you're at a lower level. Take pride in your work, right? If you've made a good film, festivals are also looking for good films. Personally, I feel festivals have no life unless they're able to be useful to films and filmmakers. If we are not useful, festivals will just shut down. Okay, they're expensive things to run. Unless we're useful to films and filmmakers, nobody will go to a festival, right? So the question of meetings with all these people, sales people, producers, everybody, distributors, everything is happening online. And many people have said personally that they've met far more people online because they're kind of in a, kind of like they're registered and you're like I don't know, like a lot of the names I wanted to actually acknowledge, but I can't because a lot of them are not full names or it just says iPhone or some Mac. I can't make out who's here. But if I knew, then I would like to acknowledge them. So a lot of people are already present online. And if you know them and you can make a request on the chat box, sir, can I chat with you afterwards or give me a time when you're free? People are very happy to do that because they've come to the festivals to find films to fund or films to buy or whatever, right? So equally from the other side, people are there who will support your work eventually if you're good.
Yeah, and so the last 2 questions that we're taking, one is from Shilpi Gulati. Yes. She asks that how does a filmmaker negotiate a screening fee from these festivals? Does it make sense to get a sales representative at the big festivals who could do this for the filmmaker?
Okay, first of all, salespeople do not exist to get you discounts on fees for submission. Important clarification. Let me clear it here and now forever, right? Salespeople are salespeople. Okay, so the reason festivals have a fee is so that they can run, because a lot of them have a shortfall of hiring so many team of people in that city, but also around the world. And a lot of them make it up in different ways, including sales. A lot of festivals do not make ticket sales like Berlin. Even Toronto is a festival that's very much a people's festival and makes a significant amount from ticket revenue. But very few other festivals, like Cannes is not known for, it's more also, it's also an important market. Cannes Marché is also the big ones, one of the big ones in the world. So a lot of business happens and that business kind of pays for it, right? But Cannes is not known for especially known for its ticket sales with ordinary public. Its functions are slightly different. Each festival has a slightly different character. So some festivals need to make up their budget by submission fees, etc., because they hire a lot of people for that limited time, or some of them year round, to make up for that. Secondly, you can definitely request for waivers, but don't assume that, the standard line I get about 50 or 100 emails a day when we open submissions saying, "Dear ma'am, I'm from poor poverty-stricken India. Please give me fee waiver." Okay. Please be aware, I get at least 500 emails like this all the time during the festival.
What she meant, I think she just dropped another text.
One sec, let me finish.
Yeah.
So you would request a fee waiver and you might politely persist maybe 1 or 2 emails, it would mean a lot to me, etc. But leave it after that, because if somebody can give you, they will. If they can't, don't pester is what I would suggest. Because for me, it's always a question of a relation. People remember the ones that pester them. Festivals remember the ones that pester them. Okay. So everybody's of course desperate to get in, but yeah, I leave it to you. Sorry, was there something else in this question that I didn't answer?
Yeah, she just dropped another text and saying that I meant fee that will be paid to the filmmaker for showing their films. I'm not sure if there's any fee paid to the filmmaker showing their films.
No, this is not something that can be assumed. No.
Yeah.
Some festivals might, if you've made a masterpiece, maybe the festival might. If it's not, then they won't pay. So it is purely something negotiable. And yes, you can have a sales rep, etc., etc. But that's a long and very tricky and complicated journey. And a lot of Indian filmmakers then bitterly complain because I don't think they've understood what sales agents are about. And I personally, there might be some, but I personally do not know as of now a single Indian filmmaker who has actually made a lot of money through a sales agent. They assume that, your boss, this is too complicated for us. Let's get somebody who'll do it for us. And they're waiting for the money to come. So I feel usually, I think a good attitude would be that film festivals are really to establish your reputation, to say, boss, it's like your ace. You're putting your ikka on the table and saying, this is my ikka, this is my ace, this is what I'm capable of doing. So it's your calling card, it's your visiting card, it's to show the caliber of your talent, to establish it for your future career. Personally, I don't think it's to make money right now. If that's what you're after, I think you're likely to be very disappointed, because when you appoint a sales agent, they're first going to have a budget to, they may be representing several other films as well, but they will need money to fly there. It's very expensive, as you know, to stay at Cannes for 10 days during the festival, or even 5 days. They have to wine and dine a lot of, buyers, etc., etc. So who's going to pay those bills? Right? So they're going to take off some of that. If they have more clients, then you have lesser to be paying their bills. That would be deducted. Then whoever, they may have infrastructure, they've hired whatever, Wi-Fi and so on, so posh office or a coffee lounge where a discreet sales agent won't be having coffee in the, on the rasta, on the Korazet with everybody. He needs to be at the Martiniere in a coffee lounge. They be whining them, talking about your film, etc. So there are all costs involved. So they will primarily deduct some cost, deduct their infrastructure thing, and then if there are sales, then after deducting their stuff, they'll pay you, which may or may not be something that you're very thrilled with. Then you say, first of all, it was so costly to hire this person. Then I didn't earn anything, right? So there's a lot of bitterness you're setting yourself up for. I think, I would like to know if any of you, if there are filmmakers here who've actually made money through a sales agent, please tell us now, because that'll be completely changing the game as I know it. So primarily, it's more a showcase of your work on the festival circuit, so people know, and later people will chase you, producers will chase you, distributors will chase you, festivals will chase you. It's a showcase of your work. I don't think primarily it's to make money, although it's called sales. So of course, it's reasonable to expect that. But I think you're setting yourself up for grief.
Yes, means I have four genre films, but in film festival, which would I choose to go?
So you want to
So
go?
You mean
to
which film you should choose to say?
Wait, 1 sec. So you want to be at X festival, but Y festival was a genre festival, so the two are different, and you want to know how to do it? Did I understand you correctly? Give me an actual example so I understand. Can you give me an example? Give me an example of your question?
Yes, same.
Okay, then Acha, you have to decide whether you want your festival to go somewhere or you want to party. That is your choice first. Okay. So if you want your film to be at a festival, then you have to send it to the festivals which are looking out for genre films or whatever. And if you want to go to Cannes, wo alag trip hai. That is separate trip. Don't mix up the two, because then you'll feel very bad.
So the final question is, though we know that while submitting a film, early bird deadlines are always advised, but my question is basically, Meenakshi, say for example, a deadline for a festival is coming up, and I know I finished my film after the deadline, obviously, and I cannot submit it anymore. Now I finish it, say a deadline is on the 1st of November, and I finished the film say on 20th of November, and I want to send, and I see that the deadlines for many other prestigious festivals are around the same time, September, October, November. So what do you advise? Do I wait a year to premiere? Because once I lose a premiere status, it's really important.
Tricky one,
how
murky
do
question. Very tricky.
So how do I, so how do I wait for it, or should I just jump into other festivals which are also good, but not?
I don't think there's one answer to it. And frankly, nobody can give you the correct answer to this. That can only come from yourself. My general attitude is, in general, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. So there might be some that you don't send to because you assume you'll be at XYZ or you want to be at XYZ festival. So meaning you might, even if you're selected at some festival, you will hope to be at Cannes, Berlin, Venice, Toronto, whatever, and then let this Chotu fellow go. But there's no guarantee you'll be there. You can miss this and miss that also, right?
Yeah.
So not finishing a film in time is exactly the same logic. Is for you to, and then actually you've touched on a very sensitive issue because as festival programmers, it's very troubling for us because of deadlines. And this really hurts filmmakers because they hate it to send a film that's not finished, but because the deadline has come, chalo, then they send it, right? Then after it is selected, oh my God, then the whole team has to work, finish the film in 10 days, post bhi karna hai, sound bhi karna hai, DI color, like they all go crazy and nobody sleep for 2 weeks because, okay, Cannes is coming up or Berlin or Venice or whatever. And they, it's a very stressful time trying to meet the commitment of a festival that selected your film. And I've had the most hilarious and heartbreaking experiences. I won't take the name of the film, but earlier I used to work for the Dubai Film Festival, which was a fantastic festival. I really, really liked it. And it was one of the very few festivals in the world that had a real advantage for Indian and South Asians because they had such a huge Indian and South Asian market because Dubai, because the Gulf is an important market for our films anyway, right? So to have a festival there, which is closely connected with an important market was a very rare, fantastic connection, right? So it was a very good experience. Unfortunately, the festival shut down some years back. But there was a film that was an Indian film that was at Locarno, that was selected at Locarno and shown, which I'd seen a long time back, but I was desperate, very keen to get it for Dubai. Okay. The film was shown, it actually won a prize at Locarno. Locarno is around August, September. Okay. And Dubai Festival in those days was in December. So there are 4 months in between August, September, October, November. 4 months later, Dubai Festival comes. Okay. And he said, I'd love to be at Dubai, but I can't give it to you because I haven't finished the film. I said, oh my God. It's answering exactly your question. Are you seeing how it's answering your question?
Exactly.
In a rush because, oh my God, I'm at Locarno. Of course I want to be at Locarno. So you somehow finish it. And then you're saying, but the film is not finished, right? So after the festival is over, but we explained to him that if you refuse a festival within 4 months after, the live life of a festival, its real value is for 1 year from the time of its first screening. Okay. So as you realized that a festival that's like, we will open now in September next month for Berlin, which is in February. Okay. So the festival is 4-5 months away, but we already open now, correct? So there's a longer and longer gaps between submissions and the actual festival date, correct? Like we'll open now by early mid-September, we'll open. The festival is on 10th of February. October, November, December, Jan, Feb, 4-5 months, which is a long time, right? So if somebody has not finished their film in time and then wants to spend a lot of time after being at Locarno, spend the next 2-3 months finishing the film, you've lost a lot of valuable time because you will miss not only what is till December, but you will miss everything till March, till Cannes next year. Because if you're taking that in that crucial 1 year that you have to be on the festival circuit, if you're cutting that time, only finishing your film, then you have only a 6-month window instead of the 1 year window, which actually your film has, So it's a very difficult and challenging creative call, but it's a very personal call, which only filmmakers can take at that point. There is no advice that can come from a third person or a book. Only you will know whether you want to.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And I think also, submitting a film also in the late deadline is also something I think it's not advisable, right? Early the better. So that's what I meant is that missing the early bird deadline also. Late submissions are usually
it's not a bad thing at all. As long as it's within the deadline, it's absolutely fine. However, here you actually lead me to another important thing, which I'd like to share with our listeners is usually be aware that most of the top festivals, may not be the smaller one, most of the top festivals get thousands and thousands of entries. Berlin probably gets maybe around 10,000 entries from, I don't know, 200 countries. Okay, it's a huge volume. I don't look at those films. I look at films from South Asia, but that's already hundreds and hundreds of films in 50, 60 languages, because I look at everything in South Asia, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and each country has, India has already 52 languages, dialects. Bangladesh also has some. Sri Lanka has, you know, like languages and many other dialects as well, right? So I look at everything. So what happens is, usually this is a very important thing to keep in mind. Ideally send only one version of your film that you are content being judged on. So don't send it so early and then say, okay, now I've done a proper edit and I've done DI and color correction, etc. So they may look at it, but you don't know they've actually looked at the whole film or bits and pieces, because they've got another 400 films to go through, right? So the chances of one film getting a second viewing carefully all the way through from beginning to end are very low. They might just skip through, or they will look at it, but that's not guaranteed. So don't send your film too early when you're not happy, because you're being judged by that one thing. And the thing is, however sincere I may be, if I'm willing to look at a film 3 times from beginning to end, because it's a precious film and I really want to see, I want this film to be selected, I want to see what the filmmaker's done, right? The thing is, the human body is built like this. Whatever I've absorbed from your film the first time is imprinted in my brain. I have seen your film. All those images, all those sounds and music, everything's already imprinted in my brain the first time you sent me a link, right? So the second time round, I will see that second one. The first one is not automatically erased. My impressions, right, remain. This is how the human brain is wired. You can put image upon image upon image, but there's no guarantee the first one is being deleted. I can't automatically delete it. It'll be there. So my first impressions will be powerful ones. I will later watch out. Acha, I have cut out 10 minutes here or done the XYZ. Okay, if you alert me, I will watch out. But my first impressions don't go away. So make sure that your first impression is your best one, whatever is comfortable to you within the deadline. And a lot of us, if it is a masterpiece that is coming, if it is Mahesh sir's film, I will watch out for a few more days. I will give him a little more time. But I can't do that for everybody, because everybody comes late, then I will have no films to see, right? But if it's somebody exceptional, somebody gifted like that, whose work I obviously know and obviously tremendously respect, or Abid Saab's films, right? If there's something I really expect something out of, and it's not able to meet the deadline, in just a few 2-3 cases, I will give them an extension, but they have to have impressed me that I will give it to them, because I cannot give it for everybody. Otherwise, deadline has no meaning at all. Everybody will send it at Christmas time, right? So be aware that deadlines are not always very rigid. Usually they are, but I personally, at Berlin, I can get you a deadline extension if I'm convinced that it's a masterpiece, not otherwise. Yeah.
Thank you, Meenakshi.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'd like to a lot of people whose names I can't see. There's the wonderful Savan Datta here. There's Abid Saab, Sanjeevan Lal, Sunita Jariwala. Thank you. Carol and Narona, please come. Can you just pin her, please? She's a very, very gifted, fantastic producer from Pakistan. So rare that we have women producers. Can you please pin her, Carol Narona?
Yeah, sure.
Hi, Carol. Okay, we can see you.
Hi, how are you? I'm so glad that I managed to actually catch this.
Thank you.
Well, for my part, I mean, I've been working, I think, for around 8 to 9 years, and I am one of those people who actually not study filmmaking. So I think for me, the kind of journey that I've been on has been intense. But recently, we did about 4 short films that I produced for Hamza Bangash. One of them was with Abid, actually, 1978.
Slowly and clearly, because everyone doesn't know. That's Hamza Bangash.
Hamza Bangash, yes.
Bangash, because
yes,
everyone's not familiar. Okay, go ahead. Please.
With Hamza Bangash. And 1978 was, in fact, with Abid. Yeah. He was our amazing executive producer. And I think based on that...
Sorry, wait, Carol, you need to go very slow, because a lot of the names people don't know. So 1978 is this fantastic short which Abid Saab and Carol had produced, directed by Hamza Bangash, which is a very, very, very daring political film. Imagine we are now thinking it is like tricky to say things. These guys are in Pakistan. I mean, hats off to you guys with the state of the economy, with the industry, with the censorship and everything. Big salute to you. A very powerful film with a fantastic
thank you.
visual artist Z. Zishan Mohammed, who was playing the lead.
Yes.
It was at Locarno. And tell us a little bit about that film's journey and your recent quick film, so people are a little familiar with your work, Carol. Slowly.
Yeah, of course. So I think when Hamza and I started working on short films, we were both on the same page from the beginning with the kind of stories that we wanted to tell. Very realistic stories inspired by our surroundings, by what we've grown up with as well. Mental health was something that we were both very, very much interested in. 3 of our films, in fact, are mental health awareness short films. One of them actually recently got selected. We shot that during COVID as well. And we had, I mean, I'm not going to give too many details, but we did have a very special needs actor with us.
Yeah.
And I think when you do films like that, it kind of inspires you to create more. Yeah. Because when you do films that present you with challenges, and if you are willing to take them on with your team, especially a supportive team, it kind of motivates you to do more.
Absolutely.
And it's very rare. I think 1978 was in fact one of those films. We were lucky to do it on a slightly bigger budget because we had executive producers who believed in us. And that's actually something very rare. You don't find that here. You don't find many people who are willing to believe in your vision, to believe in independent stories and independent cinema. So that I will always say that Abid had started this, and it's an amazing initiative. So yeah, I mean, I think we are actually working on taking our films that have been recognized by so many festivals. I think we've learned so much, because everything. Yes, sorry.
Some of the festivals that they have been to.
Of course. So I think we've touched upon Busan, Locarno, Clermont-Ferrand, which was actually a huge achievement for us. Fantastic. Because it was the first time that a film, our film Stray Dogs, actually premiered at a festival at Clermont, actually.
Yeah. And the film that she mentioned is called Stray Dogs.
Stray Dogs. Yeah, Stray Dogs come out at night.
Watch out. Yeah.
Yes. And all 4 of the films that we've done are all very different styles. So it was also interesting to see what festivals appreciate what kind of cinema or what they're looking for. So I think that was a great learning for me as well. Because you make a film, you think it's great, you think it's going to hit all these festivals, but it was interesting to see that, okay, this particular style or this particular kind of narrative storytelling works for this kind of an audience. So I think it's less of the festival, but the audience that's coming to it. Is it a European audience? Is it an audience that's catered to more of a South Asian, audience? Like, what are you targeting? So this was a very interesting journey.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Very, very, very insightful and so thrilling to see a woman producer from Pakistan. We just
thank you
for joining us. Yeah, really special to see that.
Thank you.
Everyone, a lot of I'm not able to see everyone's name, but we have, other than Mahesh and Carol, we have Abhimanyu Dikshit from Nepal. We have Nai Bhushan. We have Pradeep Purba from Meghalaya, who's made this fantastic film Market that won the Kim Ji-seok Award at the Busan Film Festival. Are you there, Pradeep? I don't know if he's still there. Then we have Tasmia Afreen Mo from Bangladesh. Very, very, very gifted filmmaker. We have Barkat Hossain Polash from Bangladesh. I don't know if he's still here. Outrageously gifted cinematographer and filmmaker. Very gifted. Then we have, who else? Malanji Basu. I don't know if she's still there. I want to say hello. We are fellow students from a online editing class that I did earlier this year. So Malanchi, I know her from there. Abhimanyu Dikshit, you want to say something? Malanchi, you want to say something? Yeah, please.
I think I had a question which I kind of put it up.
Yes.
So what is the difference between docu fiction and docus because I made a film, so I'm making my own thing. So I never had this in my mind that I have to send it to festivals. So no one did tell me.
That's great.
Yeah. So I'm going to say, yes, so I never followed this structure. No one did. Right now I'm coming across. That's why I kind of joined this session. Yeah. So now that for me it is not important also to send it to festivals. Like I'm kind of like that. I'm devoted to my own. Yeah, but now that this thing is coming up, so I really don't care about like that stamp and all. I just want to put up the story outside. So that I am reading through the ma'am, that like fiction, documentary fiction. So there are different divisions out there. How to know that which decision?
Don't worry about them. Don't worry about it. You've anyway made the film you want, na?
Yeah. I don't like.
I think the traditional boundaries, to answer your question, I think a lot of the traditional boundaries are gone. The name documentaries at one time meant, okay, the films division documentaries, you stick your camera there, somebody's saying something and just bucking and you fall asleep, right? But the definition has morphed greatly, and it has many very wonderful, all kinds of thrillings goings on, changing the form. Okay, so they are as we've seen, creative. So it can be so some of it can be documentary, or some of it is fictional but originated in documentary. Like you heard of a real life case of an LGBT kid, and this happened. Okay, you make a fiction based on that fact, right? So it's not, you see a lot of films which it's not at all clear whether it's a documentary or it's fiction. You really cannot make out. I was some years back on the jury of a small film festival in Amsterdam called World Cinema Amsterdam, and we gave the top prize to a fantastic film called Porfirio, a Colombian film. And then I found out that this happened and that happened and that happened. I said, oh shit, I thought it was a documentary, right? And actually XYZ was, and it broke my heart because I was weeping from the film. It was so fantastic, right? We even gave it the prize. I don't regret giving the prize, but I felt misled that I had assumed. And of course, so meaning, then you see that the lead person whom you felt so bad for, then you see played by an actor. And I said, what? It's an actor? Oh my God. Okay, I withdraw half my sympathies, meaning it's so good. So actually, I'm very glad we stood by it, because there is this thing called creative documentary where it is not clear. And there's a real skill in making that. Imagine how difficult it is to make an actor play something where somebody is completely fooled and believes it's a documentary. It takes tremendous skill to do that. So I totally salute the director, Alejandro Landes, who's actually got a lot of prizes afterwards for subsequent films as well, a Colombian film. But so don't worry. There are even Indian films like this wonderful, we have someone called Fugue. I apologize if I give away his name, you might not find it. Abhay Kumar, who made this wonderful documentary, but it's like documentary with animation. It's a it's not a documentary, it's autobiographical. It's with members of his family, but there's a lot of animation in it. It's like a documentary feature, right? There's a lot of animation in it. And it's an Indian, it's not some Clermont-Ferrand Frenchy thing. Idhar baith ke kar rahe hain. Like a lot of very exciting stuff is happening here. So don't worry about the labels. That's also what was Aryan's earlier question, right? About the genre and how will it fit and what other things. Don't worry. You make the film you want, then we'll see ki, Mane, be proud of your daughter. Fir kiska shaadi karna hai, that matching we'll do later. But be proud of your daughter anyway, which is exactly what you've done. So I really respect what you're. Does it answer your question? Don't worry about the labels. If it's docu, it's docu. For example, to answer your question more specifically, this fantastic film, the Indian film that was at Cannes this year, okay, Payal Kapadia's The Night of Knowing Nothing. Fantastic film. Very few have seen it. Outside of the festival or in India, because it's not released yet. It's like a creative docu. So there's Payal is a very, very gifted filmmaker. She trained at FTI. But one of the really interesting things about her, she's very experimental in her work. Okay. For her as a filmmaker, as an artist, when she thinks she's going to make a film, she's guided by the soundscape of it. She decides the soundscape first and decides the visuals later. What will you say to a film like that? Which category will you put it in? Like, it's irrelevant. You understand? It's such a radically different way. Like, we'll say, actor will say this to that. They will be in this, okay, Switzerland mein hai, ya Andheri, Yari Road, kisi ke ghar mein hai. He will say this, then she'll drive off in a rage, get an auto rickshaw, go home, XYZ. We know the visuals of it. We know the dialogue of it. Payal is working totally from ulta. And hers is not dialogue driven. She's driven by the sound design. That is what she decides first. And the sound design dictates the visuals. So can you imagine what kind of end result you'll get? It's extraordinary. It's not at all conventional, and I'm really drawn to it. Now, what she's done is something even more interesting in this current film, The Night of Knowing Nothing, which was got the best documentary at Cannes, boss. I mean, please give her a big, big hand, because it's an extraordinary achievement for anyone, and that to a documentary filmmaker from India, right? It's fantastic. Now, what she does in the film is she uses what is called a lot of found footage. So she didn't shoot it. She was decided on certain subjects. It's about students being uncomfortable with what's going on with contemporary issues and deciding to do about it, or making their thoughts known, making their opinions known. I'll be very vague because I don't want to say much about the film that she herself doesn't want to say for whatever reasons. But so she shot whatever she wanted to shoot over some 4 or 5 years. Okay. Then she wasn't happy. Then she asked her friends, hey, I'm making a film on this subject. तो आपने कुछ footage है तो मेरे को दे दो. So yeah, it literally, she didn't ask them to shoot ki I'm sitting in Bombay, I want this shot in Puja, like, you know, what they call B-roll or second line, that guy shoots the Pune part. No. If you have any footage on this subject that you have shot, humko de do. And her colleagues were so generous, they gave her that footage. So she's using what in art, in visual art, it's a very standard known concept, found footage, found art, right? Like that Marcel Duchamp, right? There was a Suzuka thing, there was a commode there, and he gave it his name and he said, this is art. Actually, it was a commode, right? One of the early examples of found art, right? He didn't make it, it was there, but uska naam dala, so he said, I put my name to it, so it becomes art. So there's this whole concept of found art, which we have not used so much in India. So she used a lot of found footage. She found it from her friends. She asked for it, and it's quite a significant part of the film. And she is she's in all interviews said they very generously gave, you know, they could have said, why are they shooting so that they can make their own film, right? Why will they give it to quote unquote a rival? But they didn't see it like that. They were so happy to share it with her. So there's all kinds of things happening. So you don't worry your head at all. You just make the films you want. Because if you think that answers are like this, then you will try and make films. So don't get into that jhamela. You're free and you're making pure films. That will be the biggest thing that you can do for yourself as an artist. Yeah. Thank you. Abhimanyu, can you share a few words? Can you tell us what you're doing?
Thank you so much for inviting me. And this was
I'm delighted.
So nice.
Thank you.
This was like, hearing all of the filmmakers here, like I recently discovered See You Soon and Malik. So Mohesh's films are like so nice, and like Malayali films where was Malayali films all this year? I mean,
yes, they were always there, but we discovered them lately.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
So, okay, I don't know. I mean, I kind of, this is not a question. This is, I'll mix my question, my query, sure, and what sure, I've been doing into one big story, case study, whatever you can call it, right? So I produced a film with my best friend, Sahara Sharma. It's called Bardia Sundari. It's about, it's Miss Bardia, right? It's this small town, these political parties are organizing a beauty pageant.
Very cute.
It's a feature-length film, right? And it's so we finished that in February 2020, and we wanted I mainly wanted the world premiere in Nepal. So we had the premiere in Nepal International Film Festival. That's Feb 2020. Then the pandemic happened. Everything went online, and we were very reserved about it, about the whole online situation, right? And because like the questions in this session itself, right? How will it be? And you answered it really clearly, and so but we warmed up to the idea, and we want to send it again this year, but it's all like Feb 2020 ka film.
Correct.
And this is like 1 year, 1.5 year.
Correct.
It's so late. Like we missed out on so many opportunities. So yeah.
But you know, there's always a learning, Abhimanyu. I'd like to say that, you know, you can't start it from zero and reach 100 tomorrow, right? You will make some mistakes. You will learn many things. And one mistake now that you've learned, you'll never make that mistake again.
Yeah, never.
But in this case, it's not a mistake at all, because who could have told that the pandemic is going to happen? How could you predict it? So it's very important to be kind to yourself and not punish yourself for things that were not in your hands anyway, right? You're saying, "Arey, we've missed out a year," but every filmmaker has. There is no filmmaker who has been spared, correct? Everybody's suffering, right? So you just have to take it as a very tough year for everybody. And I would say, actually, the miracle is the number of very good films coming out of a horrible pandemic year. You know, even Mahesh sir's film or anybody's film made in the last 2 years, it is an incredible miracle. Each of you are producing miracles in such a difficult situation to still make films. Is really, please give yourself big hand and big credit for making films at all during these last years. It's really a fantastic thing. So give yourself that appreciation for putting out creativity even in a very tough year. And you just pick up yourself. You've learned from your mistakes, from other people's mistakes, how other people have handled it. And you just move on. Life is an adventure. Filmmaking is an adventure. Don't look back and say, "Oh, I lost out this." But so many more wonderful things are to come. You don't know them yet, that's all. Right? Yeah. They're all waiting to be discovered. Yeah? You should just go forward. Yeah? All the best. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, go, I think. Oh, Tanveer Saab, please. Namaste. Oh, thank you for joining us. So, aap chupchap baithe ho, mujhe pata bhi nahi. I can't make out because the lettering is very small. Thank you so much for joining us. Very, very grateful, sir. Please tell us. So I met Tanveer Saab at the Dubai Festival where a fantastic film of his was shown, a British film. Can you tell us a little about it? Tanveer Saab, you're on mute. Yeah, please tell us about the film.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Walaikum salam.
Thank you very much. I'm feeling very happy.
Wonderful.
And I think filmmaking is a tool to express your thoughts and to show something to people.
Yeah.
I think we should make our films focusing on their subjects.
Exactly.
And what you want to show to your people.
Yeah.
And filmmaking is just a tool. You don't focus it. I'm making a film and I will do something miraculous or what.
Yeah.
So
tell us about the film that was at Dubai, sir, when we had met.
Filmmaker. I met there just
so the title
Khan,
of the film. The title of the film that you were acted in.
My Pure Land.
My Pure Land. So
My Pure Land. Salman Masood was the director and Can Write Films UK.
Yeah. So this was an extraordinary film called My Pure Land by Salman Masood, right? Yeah.
Salman Masood.
This is a British Pakistani filmmaker, and this is such an interesting history. And Tanveer Syed Saab had acted in it, and an absolutely stunning. So Malonchi, I don't know if she's still there. Malonchi, are you around? So also to answer your question, that film you couldn't really, it kind of borderline between docu and fiction, because it was a fiction story based on a real life story of a girl who takes up guns. So she's a very, very young teenager, maybe 14, 16 type, and a real life example in Pakistan where men don't like women owning property. And if there's property in the family, then they try to kick the women out, which is actually common to all our cultures, of course. South Asians are totally specialist, like kick the women out and grab the property. So that was also happening in Pakistan. And they tried to hang on to the bungalow, little property that they had. And when the cousin or uncle tried to grab that property, they came in all these Pajero jeeps, like, you know, all the gundas with all guns. So the mother, so they had already shot dead the father. And there was only the mother and I don't know, there was one sister or two sisters, was it? No, a sister and a brother.
Two sisters.
Sister and a brother, and very young, like teenage, 14-year-old, 16-year-old girl.
Yeah.
She took up guns. She took up a gun and shot at these gundas who had arrived, like 40, 50, arriving in jeeps outside that one small house in 200. A remote village. Huh?
200 bandits.
200 bandits. 200 bandits in jeeps and 200 at least guns. and machine guns.
Surrounding his home and
Police surrounded her small house in a rural countryside where there's nobody for miles around. And this small girl of 14 or 16 took up guns and shot at them, and then went to the police and got, the law on her side, etc. I don't know. What was her name, sir? Narejo. What was her name? The real life woman, very gutsy. I don't remember. Abid Saab, do you remember? I don't know. Her name was Narejo, something like that.
Darejo. This is a Sindhi tribe, Darejo.
Yeah. So based on a real life case, and what was interesting about the film, it was a British film in Urdu, made by British Pakistani director that went as a Britain's entry for the Oscars. How cool is that? Right?
Foreign language film category.
Foreign language film. And Tanveer Syed Saab was in it. So I'm very, very proud and very happy that he has joined us from he has a whole body of work, of which this is only one. But it's extraordinary that a film in Urdu, a British Pakistani film fully set in Pakistan, fully shot in Pakistan, will go as UK's entry for the Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film, right? So a lot of wonderful things are going on the planet. So thank you for joining us. And Savan Datta, do you want to sing us a song? She's such a wonderful singer and many, many, many talents. Can you please pin her, because she's so wonderful. I can't believe she's on this. Honest for me. Please say something.
I am almost embarrassed to ask a very basic question. I don't even know if the content that I create is in any way eligible for any of these categories. I was just, merely curious.
Like the songs? Okay.
The songs, the vlogs, the video.
Yeah. So tell us 2 lines about your work so everybody knows what this conversation is about. Just briefly.
Since I'm a musician first and foremost and a songwriter, what I do is I create what I call song vlogs. So I create
as songs. Video logs.
Blogs, and I try to pick subjects which most other traditional songwriters don't normally delve into. So I create songs out of recipes, out of travelogues, out of political situations, just about anything and everything. So I try to tell my stories through a song which is, preferably simple and hummable and catchy, and, which people can kind of recall and, through the song learn something, or learn how to make something, or learn about something. Or
lovely. Savan, if you ask me, you are the future.
That's so kind of you.
I really think festivals have a lot of catching up to do. Unless we are useful to filmmakers, we will cease to exist. And this is, did you hear what she said?
I haven't the faintest clue.
She's singing recipes, like cooking recipe, how to make butter chicken, how to make whatever, right? Hilsa fish, how to make fish.
It's a bit of a challenge to try and arrive at.
Yeah, I think we will have to do some catching up and create spaces where we can absorb such very, very exciting.
I don't know what genre I fit into, if at all I do, and I have absolutely no idea. What I do kind of counts as any kind of audio-visual content is okay for any kind of festival. I don't know where to fit my stuff in.
So Savan, what I would do, and I think this is not brilliant original advice, but it's just common sense. This comes for any musician who understands that however masterly your music is, without a cool video, you're going to be probably left behind in the game, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, because I think...
So unfortunately, it's very tragic, but a lot of great masters who can't make cool videos, we're just ignoring them.
Tragic, but I think the human brain tends to absorb visuals.
Correct.
In a much more primal...
So I would suggest you definitely look at music festivals, and there are, just Google Mata is everything you will need. Okay, some years ago, I was invited to give a lecture on Indian song and dance, by the way, at a very cool and very, very, very charming, tiny, teeny weeny festival in Korea called the Jecheon International Music and Film Festival. Got it?
Wow.
Yeah, it's exactly answering your question.
Wow.
So that was one, but there must be zillions. That happened to be one I went to that invited me to lecture. So I went, so I know about it. But just like this BFI, like to answer Aryan's question, he asked about the genre films, right?
Yeah.
There is a whole subsect of feature films, festivals in the world, which only do genre. Okay, so there's a whole subsect of film festivals, I'm sure of it. If you just Google it, you'll find out, which do music and film together. So there you are.
Okay.
You'd be a
that
goddess.
was my question.
You
Yes.
anyway are, but you know, they'll be so delighted. They'll invite you on the jury or have a little section or no, really, because everybody's looking to present music in a creative way. And they're so, especially in India, South Asia, so connected, right? They're not so close in other countries, but it's in our blood. Music is like a drug in our blood. We're all born with it, right? In South Asia. So I'm sure there might be some in India, but 100% just like Jecheon is one, Jecheon, Jecheon in Korea.
I'm going to write this
down.
Abid
Saab just said that 1978 is in that festival.
In Jecheon, yeah. Tell us about it, sir. Tell us about it. Tell us why it's in the festival.
Thank you. Wow.
Yeah. So, Savan, there will be many more. This is one I happen to know of, but just put music and film festival. You'll already get that combination, yeah?
Fantastic.
And you're on your road, but better buy your
Thank you.
freaking flyer card now. Abid Saab, you're telling us about 1978.
Because the film is about music.
Yeah.
1978 is about a rock star from the 70s in Karachi. And the subject is such, we are talking about music, and we had a lot of these Christian Goan musicians playing in the clubs and discos, in Karachi in 1978, in 1970s and before that. And, that's why Carol is the producer of our film, because she belongs to that community. So we needed to meet those people who are still here. A lot of them migrated when in 1977 we had a military coup, and a new military dictator came into power, and the call of Islamization was given. So that is the subject of the film, music. The original title of the film, which my co-executive producer Rashid Maqsood, he basically wrote a concept note for that film, and he wanted to title it "When the Music Died." So in the late 70s, the music really died in Pakistan. And for 10 long years, we were under a military dictator with a call for Islamization, changing things for all the minorities in Pakistan. We are very happy that the film is screening at the Korean Jecheon Music Festival, because,
It's a beautiful one. But also what is fantastic about the film, it's not just having music, because that all our films have, but it's very particular about the context in which this use or non-use or what kind of music will be allowed is a very political thing.
Exactly. And even, the small section of music that we have, the one disco scene and talking about that music was composed back then by one of those musicians who were playing in the bands at that time. So, that person from that band from the Christian community who were playing, and they had an original song, which they had never released. And Hamza and Carol are working on producing a music video for them.
Wonderful.
They've raised some 5,000 odd US dollars to make a music video.
Fantastic. I forget his name. Is it Narona? No. What, David?
Carol Narona.
No. Carol is our producer.
Norman D'Souza. Please take down this name, guys. And there is this absolutely brilliant, what is it called? Karachi Musicians Band, or what is that? Facebook? I'll have to see. Yeah, it's Legendary Musicians of Karachi.
Legendary Musicians of Karachi. So,
Facebook page.
Yeah, so it was actually, it's something we would find hard to imagine now, but I can imagine because I've never been to Pakistan. So Karachi at one time was called Paris of the East. And a lot of the music, it was extremely, anyway still is, but it's just that our ignorance leads us to strange things, but extremely evolved culturally, very, very rich culture, and a rich common culture, of course. So a lot of these Goan musicians and the Western music and the jazz and blues and everything.
They were doing a lot of cover versions.
Sure.
But they also used to make their own original music.
Right. So this film is very much, so I'm just very delighted. So I don't know if you have a chance to go or everything's online now at Jecheon, but it's just a lovely festival. And, you know, the festival takes place in very dicey weather, meaning could be rainy, could be sunny, we're not sure. So the welcome pack you're given as soon as you enter already has a disposable halka sa raincoat and a mini chhatri and some wet wipes and some very funny things that you never get at a festival otherwise. And as it did, the opening night, because it's beautiful little town by a huge lake called the Chongpung Lake, huge lake. And the main venue of the opening night is on the edge of the lake. Imagine you're sitting by the banks of a lake instead of just in a cinema hall, on the banks of an open air thing. And there's a proper stage and everything. And the stage is covered. So the opening act is usually musicians and then a film. So the musicians are playing because the stage is covered, but all the audience is sitting there pouring rain and nobody moves. You know, it's like banging out this music, which everyone loves. And it's so lovely to see absolutely full audience in a huge open air area, right? Will not move even though it's pouring rain. But Locarno is often like that. It has also...
Yeah, at Locarno, I've experienced that, you know, in the piazza, watching a film, and it was raining like anything, and 8,000 seating capacity, everyone sitting there watching the movie. I
was sitting with a pizza box on my head because
a lot of people do.
Yeah, everyone gets Domino's pizza, gobbles the pizza because there's no time to get lunch. And then you hang on to the box and keep it in case it rains. You can use it like an umbrella. Very funny. So lovely meeting all of you. Thank you very much. I think now it's really late and I'm getting hungry. I'm sure we all are. Very, very grateful to each one of you for joining us today. Very grateful to Aryan Singh for doing a fantastic job. All of you who are out so late, it's 8:30 and we started such a long time back. And also particularly to Whitebirdtrails and the entire team there, Ankit, Tiwari and Barkha and who are the creatives? I can't remember. Prathamesh and Barkha and everyone really did a lot of fantastic work. So very grateful. Thank you all. Shall we wrap up here? I think it's been long. Huh? Very grateful. Thank you again for joining. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Follow us on social media.
Thank you so much.
Lots of love.
Thank
Good
you
night
so
all.
much.
Bye.
Bye.